Konoha Academy Graduation Exam Hall, present day. The chalk dust hung in the afternoon light like suspended snow, each particle visible in the golden rays streaming through the classroom windows. 12-year-old Naruto Uzumaki sat with perfect posture at his desk, hands folded, watching Iruka-sensei distribute the final examination scrolls with eyes that seemed to calculate the trajectory of every movement. Those eyes, black as midnight, lacking the vibrant blue that supposedly ran in the Uzumaki bloodline, they tracked, they measured, they assessed, and they never, ever revealed what thoughts churned behind them. "You have 1 hour," Iruka announced, his voice carrying false confidence. His gaze flickered to Naruto just for a moment before skittering away like a stone across water. "Begin." The room filled with the sound of rustling paper and nervous breathing. Naruto's pen moved across the scroll with mechanical precision, each stroke economical, efficient, no hesitation, no corrections. Question 1. Describe the will of fire and its significance to Konoha. His pen paused for exactly 3 seconds, not from uncertainty, but from the effort of translating what he knew into what they wanted to hear. The will of fire is the ideological foundation upon which Konoha was built. He wrote, representing the belief that village bonds transcend blood, that each generation protects the next, and that sacrifice for the whole supersedes individual ambition. True enough, also conveniently blind to the system's fundamental inefficiencies. However, his pen continued, true implementation requires restructuring the current hierarchical. He stopped, crossed out the last sentence. Rewrote, "This philosophy has guided our village through 3 great wars and continues to inspire new generations." Better, they wanted idealism, not reformation proposals. Not yet. Across the room, a chubby boy named Choji dropped his pen. The small sound made 3 students jump. Naruto didn't move. He'd heard it coming, the slight tremor in Choji's grip, the sweat on his palm, the inevitable fumble. Pattern recognition was effortless when you paid attention to everything. Question 7. Demonstrate your understanding of the 3 basic jutsu. Naruto's hand moved to form seals before he consciously decided to do so. Muscle memory from countless hours of solitary practice while other children played, while other children were allowed to play. Ram, dog, boar. Transformation jutsu. Smoke erupted, and suddenly Iruka-sensei stared at himself, or rather, at a perfect replica sitting at Naruto's desk. Same scar across the nose. Same concerned crease between the eyebrows that never quite went away. Same way of holding his shoulders, slightly hunched from years of leaning over students' desks. Adequate, the real Iruka managed, though his voice carried an edge of something else. Unease, fear. The smoke cleared. Naruto sat there again, unchanged, unsmiling. "Should I demonstrate the others, sensei? Or would you prefer I conserve chakra for the practical examination? The written exam is sufficient for now, Naruto." Understood. The pen resumed its precise dance across paper. Around him, students struggled with questions he'd answered in the first 15 minutes. Let them. Competition required competitors, and most of these children weren't even players, they were pieces. Pieces that would move or be moved, live or die, based on decisions made by those with the vision to see beyond the next move. The question was, which would they choose to be? 6 years ago, Konoha Orphanage, Naruto's room. The boy who would become something ancient stirred in his bed, 6 years old and burning with fevered dreams that weren't quite dreams. Worlds within worlds. Dimensions stacked like cards, a palace of pure white stone, a throne that demanded occupants. Power that flowed like blood through veins that connected all things, and eyes that saw not what was but what could be, what would be. What must be? He woke gasping, small hands clutching sheets soaked with sweat. And for the first time in his young life, Naruto Uzumaki understood that he was different in ways that had nothing to do with the fox sealed in his stomach. The moonlight streaming through his window looked wrong. No, not wrong. It looked like something. Like energy given form, particles of spiritual matter that the world insisted should be invisible, but his eyes refused to ignore. He reached out a trembling hand, and the moonlight responded. Threads of pale blue light coiled around his fingers like curious serpents, cool and electric and fundamentally other than the chakra he'd been taught about. This wasn't the life force that flowed through all living things. This was something external, something that existed in the spaces between atoms in the quantum foam of reality itself. Rise-he, spiritual matter. The word appeared in his mind without source or context, yet carried the weight of absolute truth. He closed his fist, and the particles compressed into a sphere no larger than a marble, pulsing with contained energy. then released it, watching the light dissipate back into the ambient environment. "What am I?" he whispered to the empty room. The fox in his belly stirred for the first time since the ceiling, its attention drawn by something that tasted of neither chakra nor humanity. "Interesting," Kurama's voice rumbled through their shared mindscape, curiosity momentarily overriding hatred. "You're not just my container, are you, brat? There's something else in there, something old. Something that predates even the sage." 6-year-old Naruto lay back in his bed, staring at his small hands with those too old, too knowing black eyes. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I'm going to find out." And then, because he was still a child despite everything, "Will you help me?" The fox's laughter echoed like thunder in his mind, but beneath the mockery lay genuine intrigue. "Maybe, brat, maybe. You're certainly more interesting than most humans. We'll see if you survive long enough to be worth my time." It wasn't a no. Naruto pulled his blanket up to his chin and closed his eyes, but sleep didn't come for hours. His mind was too busy cataloging what he'd learned, extrapolating possibilities, constructing theories about his own existence. Somewhere in the village, the third Hokage felt a chill run down his spine and didn't know why. Present-day Academy graduation hall after the exam Naruto Uzumaki. He stood, scroll completed and placed precisely in the center of his desk, and walked to the front of the room with measured steps. Not rushed, not slow. Perfectly calculated to project competence without arrogance. Yhwach held up the Hittite, the leaf symbol gleaming in the afternoon light. His hands trembled slightly. "You've passed with the highest scores in Academy history," Yhwach said, loud enough for the room to hear. Then, quieter, "Congratulations." Naruto took the forehead protector and tied it around his head in one smooth motion. The metal was cool against his skin, grounding, real. "Thank you, Yhwach-sensei, for everything." And he meant it. Yhwach was one of the few who treated him with something approaching normalcy, even if that normalcy was tinged with fear. Even if Naruto could see the way his former teacher's hand always hovered near his kunai pouch when they were alone, even if those concerned brown eyes held questions that Yhwach was too afraid to ask. "Why are you so cold? What happened to the smiling child who used to pull pranks? What are you becoming?" Naruto turned to leave, but Yhwach's voice stopped him. "Naruto, you're brilliant, you're skilled. You're going to be an incredible ninja." A pause, heavy with meaning. "But don't forget to keep your humanity. Power without heart is just tyranny." "I know, sensei." Naruto looked back, and for just a moment something warm flickered in those black eyes. A ghost of the boy he might have been. "I haven't forgotten, I'm just focused on the future. That's what worries me." But Naruto was already gone, walking out into the sunlight where other graduates celebrated with families they'd always had, with parents who'd never looked at them like they were weapons waiting to go off. He stood alone at the edge of the crowd, watching, learning, recording patterns of interaction that might prove useful later. That's when he saw her. Brown hair in distinctive twin buns, confident posture, weapons scroll strapped to her back. A girl perhaps a year or two older than him, standing with her team, a boy with thick eyebrows and a green jumpsuit, and another with long hair and pale eyes. She was laughing at something the eyebrow boy said, her entire face lighting up with genuine joy. Tenten, he'd noticed her before in passing, seen her in the training grounds practically living at the weapons range. Dedication incarnate, a specialist who'd chosen a difficult path and walked it with unwavering commitment. Admirable. Their eyes met across the courtyard just for a moment. She stopped laughing, something in his gaze making her straighten instinctively. Not fear exactly, more like recognition, the way one predator acknowledges another at a watering hole. Then she smiled, small and uncertain, and nodded. He returned the gesture with mechanical precision before turning away. "Interesting." Naruto, the third Hokage, approached, robes billowing, pipe smoke trailing behind him like a question mark. Hiruzen's face was kind, as always, but his eyes held the same wariness Naruto saw everywhere. The old man gestured toward the Hokage tower. "Walk with me?" "Of course, Hokage-sama." They walked in silence through streets that parted before them like water before the bow of a ship. Villagers bowed to their leader, then found reasons to look anywhere but at the boy beside him. The demon child, the container, the other. Naruto's face remained impassive, but his mind catalogued every reaction, every micro-expression, every unconscious lean away from his presence. Fear, disgust, pity, suspicion, more fear, data, all useful, all informative. "You've done well," Hiruzen said finally, puffing on his pipe. "Exceptionally well. Your instructors tell me you've mastered jutsu that usually take years to learn." "I'm a fast learner." "Yes. Almost unnaturally fast." The old man's eyes were sharp despite his kindly demeanor. Tell me, Naruto, do you ever feel different, like there's something inside you beyond the nine tails? Naruto's heartbeat didn't change. His breathing remained steady, perfect control. I'm a Jinchuriki Hokage-sama, I've always been different. That's not what I mean. They'd reached the tower. Hiruzen stopped at the base of the steps, turning to face him fully. For a long moment, the old man simply studied him, and Naruto allowed it. Let him look. Let him wonder. The truth was so far beyond anything Hiruzen could imagine that hints were meaningless. You remind me of someone, Hiruzen said softly. An old enemy, your eyes, the way you calculate everything. It's like you're playing a game no one else can see. Perhaps I am. Naruto tilted his head slightly. Or perhaps I simply understand that in a world of violence, the unprepared become victims. You taught me that, Hokage-sama, the will of fire burns, but it needs fuel. I intend to provide that fuel by becoming strong enough to protect everyone. It was the right answer, the answer of a loyal ninja, the answer that made Hiruzen's shoulders relax just slightly. Team assignments are tomorrow, the Hokage said, apparently satisfied. Get some rest, you've earned it. Thank you, Hokage-sama, Naruto bowed, precisely 15 degrees, the exact angle protocol demanded, and turned to leave. He made it 3 steps before Hiruzen's voice floated after him, soft as falling snow and twice as cold. Naruto, whatever you're planning, whatever you're becoming, remember that you're loved. You don't have to face the darkness alone. The boy who was once something ancient stopped but didn't turn around. I know, old man, but love doesn't stop enemies. Power does. He paused. I'll save everyone, even if they fear me for it. Then he was gone, leaving the Hokage standing alone in the afternoon sun, feeling older than his years and wondering what prophecy he'd failed to prevent. That night, Naruto's apartment, the apartment was Spartan. Clean, organized with military precision, no decorations, no personal touches, just functionality, a place to sleep, eat, train, and plan. Naruto sat cross-legged in the center of his room, eyes closed, breathing steady. Around him, invisible to normal eyes, particles of Raizhi gathered like moths to flame. The spiritual energy flowed through him, circulated, compressed, refined. Not chakra, though he'd learned to mask his techniques as chakra-based for convenience, but something far older. He extended his awareness downward, through the layers of his consciousness, past the surface thoughts and memories, down into the sealed space where the Nine Tails resided. The massive fox opened one eye, regarding him with something approaching interest. Back again, brat, can't stay away. I wanted to talk. About power, freedom, the future. Kurama's laugh rumbled like an earthquake. Those are big words for a runt who just graduated from baby ninja school. I'm not asking you to submit. I'm not asking you to like me. Naruto opened his eyes, solid black in the darkness of his apartment, faintly glowing with otherworldly light. I'm offering you a partnership. You're a weapon they sealed inside me, a deterrent. A burden I'm supposed to bear. Glad you understand your place, but I don't see you that way. Naruto's voice carried absolute certainty. I see you as what you are. The most powerful entity within 1,000 miles, trapped by humans who feared what they couldn't control. You're not a demon, you're a force of nature. Kurama was silent for a long moment, both eyes open now. What do you want, brat? Help me get stronger, teach me about your chakra, let me prove I'm worth your time. Naruto leaned forward and his smile was sharp as broken glass. And when I become Hokage and I will become Hokage, I'll free you. No more seal, no more cage, complete freedom. Hokage, you, the fox's tails lashed. They'll never accept you, you're too different, too cold. 2, they'll accept me because I'll give them no choice. I'll be so far above everyone else that objection becomes meaningless. I'll see threats before they materialize. I'll end wars before they begin. I'll create peace through absolute dominance. His eyes glowed brighter, and you'll be free to choose your own path. And if I refuse, then I'll do it anyway, just slower, but I'd prefer your cooperation. You're intelligent, Kurama. You see patterns, you understand power structures, you've watched human civilization rise and fall. That knowledge is valuable. The fox was silent for 3 full heartbeats. You're either the most arrogant human I've ever met or the most dangerous, possibly both. A massive paw reached forward through the bars of the seal. Fine, I'll play your game, Naruto Uzumaki, but if you betray me, I won't. I don't make promises I can't keep. Then let's start your real education, brat. If you're going to become a king, you'll need a demon's wisdom. Naruto smiled, and for the first time since the fever dream 6 years ago, he felt something approaching satisfaction. The pieces were moving into position. The board was set. The game had begun. Tomorrow he would meet Team 7. Tomorrow he would begin the careful process of binding allies to his cause. Tomorrow he would take the first real step toward reshaping the world. But tonight he sat in darkness and light, conversing with a demon, manipulating spiritual energy that shouldn't exist, and planning a future that spanned decades. Tonight he was simply Naruto Uzumaki, orphan, Jinchuriki, genius, and something that had no name in any language spoken in the elemental nations. Something that would eventually remember what it once was. Something that would eventually become something greater still. His eyes reflected the moonlight streaming through his window, and if anyone had been there to see, they might have noticed that the light bent strangely around him. As if reality itself was uncertain about his existence. As if the universe was still deciding whether he was human or something else entirely. Tomorrow, he whispered to the empty room. Everything begins tomorrow. And somewhere in the space between dimensions, where souls gathered and power concentrated, something ancient and vast stirred at the echo of a name it had once carried. But that knowledge was still locked away, waiting for the proper moment. Waiting for the day when Naruto Uzumaki would look in a mirror and see not a boy, but a god. That day would come, but not yet. Academy classroom morning team assignment day. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Graduates clustered in groups, speculating about their team placements with the manic excitement of children who didn't yet understand what they were signing up for. War, death, missions that would break them or forge them into weapons. Naruto sat alone by the window, watching clouds drift across the sky with the same analytical intensity he applied to everything else. Cirrus formations at approximately 20,000 feet, moving southeast at roughly 15 miles per hour. Weather would remain clear for the next 72 hours. Ideal training conditions. Maybe I'll be on the same team as Sasuke-kun, Sakura's voice carried across the room, high-pitched with hope. Naruto's eyes shifted fractionally, observing without turning his head. Sakura Haruno, civilian-born, top kunoichi of their class, brilliant mind wasted on infatuation. And Sasuke Uchiha, prodigy, avenger-in-waiting, drowning in darkness he didn't yet recognize. Both useful. Both malleable in their own ways. Naruto Uzumaki. He'd noticed Sasuke approaching, of course, had tracked the boy's movement across the room through peripheral vision and the slight change in air pressure. But he let the Uchiha think he'd achieved surprise. Small victories meant more to those who needed them. Uchiha, Sasuke's dark eyes, so different from Naruto's own black ones, studied him with barely concealed suspicion. You're different, observant. I mean you've always been different, but this past year, Sasuke's jaw tightened, you stopped trying, stopped pranking, stopped pretending to be an idiot. Like someone flipped a switch and suddenly you were competent, Naruto offered, finally turning to face him. Functional, what you always could have been if you'd stopped playing the victim and started planning. The insult was calculated, precise. Sasuke's hand twitched toward his kunai pouch, instinct, muscle memory, the ingrained response of someone raised to answer disrespect with violence. Then he stopped, breathed, thought, better, the boy could learn. I'm not playing victim, Sasuke said quietly, dangerously. My clan was massacred. I have the right to what? Wallow, stagnate. Naruto leaned forward and his voice dropped to barely a whisper. Your brother left you alive for a reason, Uchiha. Either you were too weak to be worth killing or too important to die. Either way, wasting time on revenge fantasies while your actual skills deteriorate serves no one. You don't know anything about. I know your graduation shuriken scores dropped 12% this year because you're practicing massacre scenarios instead of fundamentals. I know you're developing tunnel vision in your tactical assessments because everything becomes about, will this help me kill Itachi? I know you're about to waste the best training opportunity of your life because you can't see past your own pain. Sasuke stared at him, something between rage and recognition flickering across his features. Why do you care? Good question. Naruto considered his answer carefully. Because talented people who waste their potential annoy me, because we might end up on the same team. Because, he paused and something almost genuine entered his voice. Because you and I aren't that different, Sasuke, we're both alone, both carrying things that should break us. Both refusing to break, we're nothing alike. If you say so, Naruto turned back to the window. But when we're on the same team, and we will be, try to remember this conversation. When you realize I'm not your enemy and possibly the only person in this village who understands what you're becoming. And what's that? Powerful, dangerous, useful, a ghost of a smile. Necessary? Before Sasuke could respond, Iruka entered with a clipboard and nervous energy. The room fell silent, the kind of weighted silence that precedes life-changing announcements. Team 7, Iruka's voice was steady, but his eyes found Naruto's for just a moment. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno. Your Jonin instructor is Kakashi Hatake. The room erupted in whispers. Naruto simply nodded, unsurprised. He'd known since yesterday, had calculated team compositions based on clan balance, skill distribution, and political considerations. Team 7 made perfect sense from an optimization standpoint. Sakura looked torn between ecstatic and horrified, on the same team as her crush and her. What was he to her? The strange boy who made her uncomfortable. Sasuke's expression remained neutral, but Naruto caught the slight tension in his shoulders. The Uchiha was processing, planning, already trying to figure out the hierarchy. Good. Competition bred excellence. Training ground 3 2 hours later they waited. And waited. Sakura fidgeted. Sasuke brooded with practiced intensity. Naruto sat perfectly still on the railing, eyes half closed, breathing steady. To an outside observer, he might be sleeping. In reality, he was pulling Raizhi from the environment, cycling it through his system, feeling the spiritual particles respond to his will. 3 hours late. Kakashi Hatake was testing them already, patience, teamwork, how they handled the unknown, elementary psychology. This is ridiculous, Sakura muttered. What kind of Jonin keeps his students waiting? The kind who's testing us, Sasuke said without opening his eyes. Very good, the Jonin appeared in a swirl of leaves, theatrical, unnecessary, designed to startle. Sakura jumped. Sasuke tensed but controlled his reaction. Naruto didn't move at all, hadn't moved since before the Shunshin because he'd felt the slight distortion in air pressure that preceded such techniques. Kakashi Hatake studied them with his visible eye, the other covered by his Hittite. Silver hair defying gravity, mask covering most of his face, orange book in hand, the infamous copy ninja, Sharingan Kakashi. And currently, a man trying very hard to project casual disinterest while his eye kept flickering to Naruto with barely concealed fascination. My first impression of you three, Kakashi drawled. You're boring, Sakura bristled. Sasuke scoffed. Naruto smiled. Meet me at training ground 7 tomorrow at 5 a.m. Don't eat breakfast, you'll just throw it up. Kakashi pulled out 2 bells, letting them jingle in the afternoon sun. We'll be having a survival exercise. Only 2 of you pass. The one who doesn't get sent back to the academy. But there's 3 of us, Sakura protested. Exactly, Kakashi's visible eye curved in what might be a smile. This test has a 66% failure rate. I've sent back every team I've been assigned for the past 3 years, so get some rest. Tomorrow, come at me with the intent to kill. Or you'll definitely fail. He vanished in another swirl of leaves. Sakura looked panicked. Sasuke looked calculating. Naruto hopped down from the railing with fluid grace. Well, he said softly. That was informative. What do you mean? Sakura demanded. He's going to fail one of us, we have to. He's not going to fail any of us. Naruto started walking toward the exit. This isn't about the bells. It's about teamwork. The test is whether we can work together or if we turn on each other. Sasuke straightened. How do you know? Because it's what I would do if I wanted to test coordination and trust. The bells are a distraction. The real question is, do we fight each other for survival or do we fight as a unit? Naruto glanced back at them. Meet me at training ground 7 at 4 a.m. We have an hour to plan. Why should we trust you? Sasuke's hand drifted toward his weapons pouch again, a tell Naruto would have to break him of. Because I'm the only one who's already figured out how to pass. You can follow my lead and succeed or go alone and fail. He paused. Your choice, but I'd prefer to start our careers together. We'll be more useful that way. He walked away, leaving them staring after him. Sakura looked at Sasuke. Is he always like this? I don't know, Sasuke admitted, watching Naruto disappear around a corner, but I think we should listen to him. Since when do you listen to anyone? Since I realized he might actually be smarter than me. Sasuke's Sharingan flickered to life for just a moment, 2 Tamo spinning lazily. And that's irritating. Training ground 7 4 a.m. the next morning Naruto arrived first, as expected. The training ground was silent except for wind through trees and the distant call of early birds. He'd already scouted the area, identified optimal positioning, calculated Kakashi's most likely approach vectors. Sasuke arrived second at 4:03 a.m., landing silently from a tree branch. He nodded once, finding a position near Naruto without being asked. Sakura stumbled in at 4:15 a.m., looking exhausted but determined. Okay, she said, pulling out a notepad. I stayed up researching Kakashi Hatake. He's famous for the Sharingan, over 1,000 jutsu copied, student of the 4th Hokage, and he has a tell, Naruto interrupted gently. When he's about to use a major technique, his visible eye widens fractionally. 0.3 seconds of warning. How do you know that? I watched footage of his fights, analyzed patterns, studied. It was partially true. The other part, the part where he simply knew things, understood combat dynamics that shouldn't be obvious, he kept to himself. So what's the plan? Sasuke asked, surprising them by deferring to Naruto's leadership without protest. Naruto sketched in the dirt with a stick. Simple. Sakura, your role is strategic support and distraction. Your chakra control is the best in our class. You'll maintain position here, provide intel, and create openings. Sasuke, your primary assault. Your Sharingan and ninjutsu make you our strongest offensive asset. I'll be coordination and adaptation, filling gaps, providing backup, adjusting strategy in real time. That's it, Sakura looked dubious. That's your master plan? No, that's the framework. The actual plan requires understanding Kakashi's psychology. Naruto's black eyes gleamed in the pre-dawn darkness. He's testing teamwork, yes. But he's also testing initiative, creativity, and whether we can think beyond the obvious. So we're going to give him something unexpected. Which is, we're going to make him think we're fighting each other, then coordinate the real attack through signals he can't detect. Sasuke leaned forward, interested. What kind of signals? Naruto formed 3 hand seals, ram, serpent, tiger, and pressed his palm to the ground. Invisible to normal eyes, threads of Rise spread outward, connecting the 3 of them in a web of spiritual energy. He'd practiced this technique for months, perfecting it, ensuring it read as a normal chakra technique to any observer. The effect was immediate and disorienting. Can you hear me? Naruto's voice echoed in their minds, not spoken but transmitted directly through their connection. Sakura gasped. Sasuke's Sharingan activated on instinct, spinning, trying to understand what he was sensing. What is this? Sakura whispered aloud. A communication technique. My own design. It uses a network of my chakra threaded through yours. Think of it as a radio frequency only we can access. To Kakashi, it'll just look like normal chakra circulation. Even through the mental link, Naruto's voice was calm, measured. This is how we'll coordinate without verbal or visual signals. This shouldn't be possible, Sasuke said, but his eyes were bright with excitement. This level of chakra control, the complexity of maintaining 3 simultaneous connections, even Jonin's struggle with telepathy jutsu. It's not traditional telepathy. It's more efficient, but that's not important right now. What matters is that we can communicate perfectly while appearing to work independently. Okay, Sakura said slowly, her tactical mind already spinning. So we fake conflict while actually coordinating through this link. Kakashi thinks we're failing the teamwork test, drops his guard, and we strike together. Exactly. But we need to sell it. Real attacks on each other. Nothing lethal but convincing. Naruto's mental voice took on an edge of something darker. Can you do that? Can you hurt each other to hurt him? Sasuke smiled, sharp and predatory. Oh, I think I can manage. They spent the next 40 minutes refining their strategy, practicing coordination through the mental link, until they moved like parts of a single organism. Sakura fed them enemy positions she'd scouted. Sasuke mapped attack patterns. Naruto adjusted and optimized, his mind working 3 steps ahead, seeing the flow of the battle before it began. When the first rays of sunlight broke the horizon, they were ready. And when Kakashi appeared at 8 a.m., 3 hours late again, book in hand, looking relaxed, he found his students spread across the training ground, deliberately not working together, projecting exactly the kind of dysfunction he expected from fresh academy graduates. He had no idea what was actually waiting for him. Good morning, Kakashi called cheerfully. Ready to fail? Naruto exchanged a glance with his teammates, visible, obvious, the kind of look that suggested they were indeed about to turn on each other. Ready as we'll ever be, sensei, Kakashi set a timer. You have until noon to get these bells. Begin. The real test was beginning. And Kakashi Hatake was about to learn that his newest student wasn't just talented. He was terrifying. Training Ground 7, the bell test begins 8:01 a.m. Sasuke moved first. A textbook academy assault, kunai gleaming in the morning sun, heading straight for Kakashi with all the subtlety of a charging bull. Really? Kakashi sighed, already reading from his book while dodging. Direct assault. I expected better from an Uchiha. What he didn't see was Sakura circling wide, moving through underbrush with surprising silence for someone who'd spent most of her academy career worrying about her appearance instead of training. What he didn't hear was Naruto's voice in both their minds. Sasuke, he's tracking your movements with peripheral vision despite the book. Feint left in 3, 2, 1, now. Sasuke's attack shifted mid-motion, kunai sweeping left instead of the predicted right. Kakashi adjusted smoothly, decades of combat experience making his counter automatic. Except Sakura was there, emerging from concealment at exactly the right angle, kunai aimed at the bells. Kakashi pivoted, using Sasuke's momentum against him, sending the Uchiha tumbling while simultaneously blocking Sakura's attack. Two students neutralized in as many seconds. Better, Kakashi admitted. Coordinated assault, decent timing, but Naruto appeared above him when had he gotten into the trees, dropping with a heel kick aimed at Kakashi's head. The Jonin substituted with a log, reappearing 20 feet away. You'll need more than basic tactics too now, formation delta. The three students scattered in different directions, seemingly breaking formation, looking panicked and uncoordinated. Exactly what Kakashi expected from students whose first strategy had failed. What he didn't expect was the shuriken. They came from 3 directions simultaneously, Sasuke's from the left, Sakura's from the right, Naruto's from above, all aimed at him with perfect timing. He deflected them easily, but his visible eye was focused on the weapons. Not on Naruto's hands, moving through seals at impossible speed. Not on the nearly invisible threads of spiritual energy connecting all 3 students. Not on the way the training ground's ambient light seemed to bend strangely around the blonde boy. Earth style, Earth shore return. Kakashi slammed his hands into the ground, raising a wall of earth to block the second wave of shuriken. Solid defense, textbook counter. Which is why he didn't notice Sasuke's fireball jutsu until it was already curving around the wall, or Sakura's wire trap already woven into the grass at his feet, or Naruto standing perfectly still, eyes closed, doing something that made Kakashi's instincts scream danger. The fireball struck the earth wall. Kakashi jumped to avoid the flames, landed in Sakura's wire trap, and Sasuke grand fireball at the wires. Sakura, pull, now. Found himself jerked off balance as the wires constricted, just as another fireball ignited the oil Sakura had coated them with. Kakashi escaped with a substitution, appearing behind Naruto. Impressive coordination, he said, hand already raised for a strike. But you left your strategist exposed. Naruto didn't move, didn't flinch, just opened his eyes, and smiled. Gotcha, the strike never landed. Kakashi's hand stopped mid-motion, held in place by something he couldn't see, threads of pure spiritual energy, compressed and hardened, wrapped around his wrist like invisible wire. What? Sasuke and Sakura hit him from both sides simultaneously, not with kunai or jutsu, but with perfectly timed strikes aimed at pressure points. Kakashi blocked one, but the other connected and his arm went numb. The bells jingled. Naruto stood there, one hand extended, fingers manipulating threads of Rise-He that Kakashi's Sharingan couldn't quite track, couldn't quite understand. I told you, he said softly, this isn't about the bells. It's about teamwork. He tossed both bells to his teammates without looking. Sasuke caught his one-handed, Sharingan spinning, staring at Naruto with newfound respect and wariness. Sakura caught hers with trembling fingers, not quite believing what had just happened. Kakashi stood frozen, mind racing. That last technique, the invisible restraint, what was that? It wasn't chakra, or at least not entirely. It felt different, foreign, ancient. We pass, Sasuke asked, tossing the bell up and catching it, trying to look casual. Kakashi recovered his composure, though his eye never left Naruto. You pass, all 3 of you. That was, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Exceptional coordination for fresh graduates. How did you communicate without verbal or visual signals? Naruto released whatever technique he'd been holding, and the strange energy dissipated. Trade secret, sensei, every team needs a few tricks up their sleeve. Naruto, Kakashi's voice was harder now, Jonin instead of teacher. What was that last technique? I've seen over 1,000 jutsu. I've never seen anything like that. Uzumaki clan's secret, Naruto lied smoothly. My mother's lineage specialized in chakra manipulation. This is just an application of advanced chakra thread technique. It wasn't. But Kakashi had no way to prove it. I see. The Jonin studied him for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled behind his mask. Well, Team 7, you're officially ninja of Kono Hagakure. Meet me tomorrow at 7 a.m. for your first mission. Actually 7 a.m. or Kakashi Standard Time? Sakura asked with a hint of sass that made Naruto revise his assessment of her. Trauma had brought out her backbone, Touché, Kakashi chuckled. Actually 7 a.m., bring your gear, dismissed. He vanished in a swirl of leaves, but Naruto could feel his presence lingering at the edge of the training ground, watching. Analyzing, reporting to the Hokage, no doubt. Good, let them wonder. Wondering meant they weren't acting, and he needed time to solidify his position. As soon as Kakashi's presence fully retreated, Sasuke whirled on him. What the hell was that technique? That wasn't any Uzumaki clan secret. I've studied their techniques, that was something else entirely. Does it matter? Naruto asked mildly. It worked, we passed. We're a team now. It matters because you're hiding something big. Sasuke's Sharingan was still active, still trying to analyze what it had witnessed. I saw the threads for just a moment. They weren't chakra. Or they were, but they were also something else, something my Sharingan couldn't fully track. Sasuke, tell me the truth. The Uchiha stepped closer and there was desperation under his anger. Are you something other than human? The question hung in the morning air like smoke. Naruto considered his answer. These were his teammates now, his potential Sternritter, though they didn't know that term yet. He needed their trust, but trust required something, a fraction of truth perhaps, enough to bind them without revealing everything. I'm human, he said finally, but I'm also more. Something happened to me when I was 6, a fever. A dream that wasn't a dream. When I woke up, I could see things others couldn't, do things others couldn't. He met Sasuke's eyes steadily. I'm still figuring out what I am, but I'm not your enemy, I'm your ally. And I'm going to make us all strong enough that nothing can hurt us again. That's not an answer, Sakura said quietly. She'd been silent through the exchange, but her eyes were sharp, analytical. The girl who'd coasted through academy on her memorization skills was finally engaging her considerable intelligence. But I think it's all you can give us right now. Naruto nodded gratefully. Fine, Sasuke said, though his Sharingan remained active. Keep your secrets, but that technique, teach it to us. The mental communication, if we're going to be a team, we need every advantage. I will, but it takes time to master. Weeks, maybe months. Then we start now. Sasuke's intensity burned like cold fire. Because whatever you are, Naruto Uzumaki, you're right about one thing, we're going to be stronger than anyone expects. And when I finally face Itachi, you'll win, Naruto interrupted. I promise you that, but not through revenge, through power so absolute that revenge becomes meaningless. They stood there, 3 broken children bound together by necessity and ambition, as the sun climbed higher and Konoha woke around them. In the distance, hidden in the trees, Kakashi watched through a pair of binoculars, his visible eye troubled. That technique, those eyes, the way Naruto commanded the situation like a general despite being 12 years old. The Hokage needed to know. Something was very, very wrong with Naruto Uzumaki, or very, very right. And Kakashi couldn't decide which possibility terrified him more. Konoha mission assignment, office 2 weeks after team formation, another D rank. Sasuke's voice dripped with barely contained frustration. We've caught the same damn cat 12 times. Tora enjoys the thrill of escape, Naruto observed mildly, watching the scratched and irritable feline hiss at the fire daimyo's wife. It's become a game to her, we're just unwilling participants. Kakashi chuckled from behind his book. Welcome to the life of Genin. You start at the bottom and work your way up through tedious labor designed to break your spirit and ensure obedience to the system, Naruto finished. Yes, sensei, we understand the philosophy. We'd simply prefer to skip to the part where we're actually useful. The Hokage puffed on his pipe, eyes crinkling with amusement. Patience is a Hokage-sama. The door slid open, revealing a tall man in an expensive kimono and the unmistakable scent of alcohol. I'm here for my escort mission to Wave Country. Hiruzen's eyebrows rose. Ah, Tazuna-san, yes, your C-rank escort mission. Let me assign you a proper Chunin team. I'll take them. Everyone turned to Naruto, who'd spoken with quiet certainty. Naruto, Kakashi said slowly. This is a C-rank mission, outside the village, real potential danger. Exactly. Naruto's black eyes fixed on Tazuna with unsettling intensity. The bridge builder shifted uncomfortably under that gaze, hand tightening around his sake bottle. We've been ready for 2 weeks. This is the logical next step. Sasuke, Sakura, he projected through their mental link. This mission is more dangerous than classified. The client is lying about the threat level. But this is exactly what we need. How do you know? Sakura's mental voice carried confusion. Look at him. Expensive clothes but calloused hands, working class pretending to be wealthy. Sake bottle grip shows desperation, not casual drinking. Multiple tells suggesting he's omitting information. This isn't a standard escort mission. And you want us to take it anyway? Sasuke's mental voice held dark excitement. Yes, real combat experience against real threats. This is how we grow. Aloud, Sasuke said, I agree with Naruto, we're ready. Sakura hesitated only a moment. Me too, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen studied them, then Kakashi. Kakashi-san, the Jonin closed his book, single eye assessing his students. They're surprisingly capable, and I'll be with them. If the mission parameters change, I can handle it. Very well. The Hokage turned to Tazuna. Team 7 will escort you to Wave Country. You leave at dawn. As they filed out, Naruto caught Tazuna's eye. The bridge builder looked away quickly, but not before Naruto noted the flash of guilt, fear, and determination. Yes, Naruto thought, this will be perfect. Behind them, Hiruzen watched the door close and turned to his empty office. Shikaku, he said to the shadows. Nara Shikaku materialized from the corner, face troubled. You noticed it too. The boy knew the mission was dangerous before any briefing. He wanted the dangerous mission. The Hokage's expression was grave. Kakashi's reports are concerning, techniques that shouldn't exist, strategic thinking beyond his years, and those eyes. What do you want me to do? Watch. Report, but don't interfere. Hiruzen looked old in that moment, ancient. Either Naruto Uzumaki is the most promising shinobi we've produced in decades, or he's something we don't have a classification for yet. And if he's the latter, then we pray he stays on our side. Fire Country border en route to Wave Day 2 of travel. The road wound through dense forest, dappled sunlight creating shifting patterns on packed dirt. Team 7 moved in standard formation, Kakashi at point, Sasuke and Sakura flanking, Naruto taking rear guard while Tazuna trudged in the center, increasingly nervous as they approached the border. Ambush ahead, Naruto projected suddenly. Two hostiles. Chunin level, hidden in the puddle 30 meters forward. What puddle? Sakura's mental voice was sharp. It hasn't rained in days, exactly. Kakashi's visible eye flickered to the puddle, then away, his pace never changing. Good, he'd noticed too. The question was how they'd handle it. Let them attack, Naruto decided. We need to assess their capabilities and Tazuna's importance. Kakashi will protect the client. We engage. Finally, Sasuke's mental voice practically purred. Real combat. They passed the puddle. Naruto felt the shift in air pressure behind them a split second before two figures erupted from the water, chain weapons gleaming in the afternoon sun. Demon brothers, Kakashi identified even as he moved, or appeared to move. The Kakashi that charged forward was shredded by the chain, blood spraying dramatically. Sakura gasped. Tazuna went pale. Sasuke's Sharingan activated, tracking the attacker's movements. Naruto simply sighed. Substitution. Our sensei is testing us. The demon brothers pivoted toward Tazuna, chains whistling through air. Standard assassination protocol, eliminate the escort then the target, except Team 7 wasn't standard. Sasuke intercepted the first brother, kunai meeting claw, Sharingan spinning to track the complex chain movements. The Uchiha fought with brutal efficiency, each strike calculated to wound rather than kill. They needed information. Sakura engaged the second brother with a coordination that belied her civilian origin. Her chakra control let her enhance her strikes, making each blow hit harder than her frame suggested possible. She was utilizing the beginning principles of what would eventually become her monstrous strength, though she didn't know it yet. Naruto watched, analyzed, and intervened only when necessary, a kunai deflecting a chain aimed at Sakura's blind spot, a subtle shift that put Sasuke in a better position. Orchestra conducting, not direct participation. Sasuke, he's favoring his left leg. Old injury. Sakura, the chain has a maximum extension of 15 feet, make him overextend and he's vulnerable. They adapted instantly, fighting as one organism with 3 bodies. Within 2 minutes, both demon brothers were on the ground, bleeding but alive, bound with wire. Kakashi appeared from the trees, no longer reading his book. Well done. Very well done. You knew they were there, Sasuke accused, Sharingan still active. Of course, I'm a Jonin. Kakashi crouched by the prisoners. Gazu and Mizu, the demon brothers of Kirigakure. C-rank mission, you said, Tazuna-san. The bridge builder wilted under the combined stares of Team 7 and their instructor. I'm sorry, I couldn't afford the proper mission rank. Wave Country is poor, we're being bled dry by Gato and his thugs. These men work for him. If I'd told the truth, you never would have come. You're right, Kakashi said coldly. We wouldn't have. This is now a B-rank minimum, possibly A-rank. We should return to Konoha and, no. Everyone turned to Naruto, who was studying one of the captured assassins with disturbing focus. We continue the mission. Naruto, Kakashi's voice held a warning. This is beyond nothing is beyond us. Naruto's black eyes met Kakashi's visible one. You've seen us fight, you know what we're capable of. And you know that turning back now means Tazuna dies, his family dies, and an entire country falls to a crime lord. That's not our problem, isn't it? Naruto turned to face his sensei fully. We're shinobi of Kono Hagakure. Our mission is to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Or is the will of fire just propaganda we tell children to make them die obediently? The words hung like a challenge. Kakashi stared at his student and something shifted in his expression. You're 12 years old. I'm capable. Age is irrelevant to competence. Naruto gestured to his teammates. We all are. We passed your test designed to break us. We've coordinated perfectly on every mission. We just defeated 2 Chunin-level opponents with minimal difficulty. At what point do you trust us to be what we've proven we are? Sasuke and Sakura stood beside him, united front. Kakashi looked at them, really looked, and saw not children playing ninja but soldiers forged by different fires than he understood. Sasuke's determination born from massacre. Sakura's intelligence finally weaponized. And Naruto's, whatever Naruto was becoming. Fine, he said finally. We continue, but you follow my orders exactly. Any deviation we abort, understood? Understood, sensei, they replied in perfect unison. Kakashi turned back to the prisoners. Who hired you? Zabuza, one brother spat. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist. The name hung in the air like a blade. Kakashi's eye widened fractionally. This just became an A-rank mission. Good, Naruto said softly, and his smile was like winter. It's about time things got interesting. Wave country approaching Tazuna's home 3 days later, they traveled by boat across gray water, mist rolling in thick and cold. The boatman kept his engine low, steering close to the shoreline, eyes constantly scanning for Gato's patrols. Naruto sat at the bow, watching the mist with unusual intensity. His fingers twitched occasionally, and if anyone had been watching closely, they might have seen faint distortions in the air around him, Rizey responding to his unconscious manipulation. He's here, Naruto projected suddenly. Zabuza. In the mist, he's been tracking us for the past 10 minutes. Are you certain? Kakashi's mental voice. He'd asked Naruto to include him in the communication network after the demon brothers' attack. The Jonin was disturbing adept at using the technique. I can sense his killing intent. It's like a pressure in the air. He's waiting for the optimal moment to strike. Then we'll give him one, Kakashi decided, but on our terms. They docked at a small pier, Tazuna leading them down a dirt path toward his home. The mist grew thicker, visibility dropping to barely 10 feet, perfect conditions for silent killing. Kakashi's hand moved to his hit 8. Stay close to Tazuna. Zabuza Momochi is an S-rank missing nin. This is beyond you. Will you use it? Sasuke asked, Sharingan already active. The Sharingan, I may have no choice. The killing intent slammed down like a physical weight. Sakura gasped. Tazuna dropped to his knees. Even Sasuke stumbled, overwhelmed by the sheer malice. Naruto remained standing, eyes narrowed. Interesting. He's using his killing intent as both intimidation and camouflage. We can't sense his actual position through the pressure. A massive blade materialized from the mist, the Kubikirabacho, the executioner's blade, spinning like a wheel of death toward Tazuna's head. Kakashi intercepted it, kunai sparking against steel. The blade embedded in a tree, and atop it stood a man who looked like murder personified. Tall, bandaged face showing only cold eyes, muscles coiled with lethal grace. Kakashi of the Sharingan, Zabuza's voice was rough, amused. And his little genin, how touching. Stand aside and give me the old man, I'll make it quick. Can't do that. Kakashi lifted his hit I-8, revealing the Sharingan 3 Tamo spinning slowly. My students come first. Students? Zabuza's laughter was sharp. They're already dead, they just don't know it yet. Hidden mist jutsu, the mist exploded outward, visibility dropping to 0. Naruto immediately enhanced his other senses, hearing, spatial awareness, the subtle movements of Rizey in the air displaced by a human body. He's circling, testing us. Looking for the weakest link, Naruto projected, calm in the chaos. Sakura, stay with Tazuna. Sasuke, back to back with me. Kakashi, he'll go for you first, you're the real threat. The attack came from 3 directions simultaneously, water clones, perfect copies, moving with silent killing intent. Naruto's hand flashed through seals. Wind style. Gale Palm, the technique, learned from a scroll he definitely shouldn't have had access to, blasted through the mist, revealing Zabuza's positions for just a moment. Enough for Sasuke to target the real one with a fireball, enough for Kakashi to engage directly. The battle was a blur of violence. Zabuza was everything his reputation promised: fast, brutal, efficient. His blade sang through the air, each swing capable of bisecting a person. But Kakashi matched him move for move, sharing and predicting, analyzing, copying. He's stalling, Naruto realized. This isn't his full strength. He's assessing Kakashi's capabilities. This is reconnaissance. Naruto, Sakura's scream cut through the mist. A water clone had appeared next to Tazuna, blade raised. Naruto moved without thinking, Hokage propelling him forward faster than any genin should move, faster than chakra enhancement alone could explain. He intercepted the blade with his forearm, and didn't bleed. Blut Veen, the Quincy defensive technique, had activated on pure instinct. Spiritual energy flooded his skin, hardening it to steel-like density. The blade struck and bounced, leaving only a thin red line that quickly faded. Everyone saw. Zabuza's eyes widened. Kakashi's Sharingan spun frantically, trying to understand. Sasuke and Sakura stared in shock. What? Zabuza started. Naruto didn't give him time to finish. His hand shot forward, fingers manipulating invisible threads of Rizhi, wrapping around the clone's throat and dispersing it with a technique that looked nothing like standard chakra manipulation. The real Zabuza, locked in combat with Kakashi, felt his clone's destruction and hesitated for a fraction of a second. That's when the senbone struck. Multiple needles pierced his neck, each placed with surgical precision. Zabuza's eyes rolled back and he collapsed, massive blade clattering to the ground. A figure materialized from the mist, masked, androgynous, wearing hunter-nin markings from Kirigakure. My apologies for the intrusion. I've been tracking this criminal for some time. I'll dispose of the body. The hunter-nin lifted Zabuza's corpse with surprising ease and vanished into the mist, leaving Team 7 standing in stunned silence. Kakashi's Sharingan faded as he covered his eye again, breathing hard. Using the Sharingan always took a toll. That was close, too close. He turned to Naruto and his visible eye was hard. Your arm, that technique, explain. Now, Naruto looked down at his forearm where the blade had struck. The skin was unmarked, perfectly healed. Around him, his teammates stared with questions in their eyes. He chose his words carefully. I don't fully understand it myself, sensei. When I'm in danger, sometimes my body reacts in ways I can't explain. It's been happening since I was 6. That wasn't chakra enhancement. My Sharingan would have seen the chakra flow. Kakashi stepped closer, voice dropping. What are you, Naruto? Human, I think. Naruto met his gaze steadily. But also something else. Something I'm still trying to understand. Before Kakashi could press further, Tazuna groaned. Can we have this discussion somewhere safer? My house is just ahead, with walls and sake. Lots of sake. Kakashi held Naruto's gaze for another moment, then nodded. Fine, but we're having a full conversation about this, tonight. As they walked toward Tazuna's home, Naruto felt Kurama's consciousness stir. That was sloppy, Kit, you exposed yourself. I saved Tazuna. At the cost of revealing you're not normal, was it worth it? Yes, because now they know I can protect them, and protection breeds loyalty. Or fear. Fear has its uses too. The fox's laughter rumbled through his mindscape, dark and knowing. You're more like me every day, brat. I'm not sure if that's terrifying or impressive. Why not both? They reached Tazuna's home as true night fell, the small house warm with light and the promise of temporary safety. But Naruto stood on the porch for a moment, looking back at the mist-shrouded forest. Zabuza wasn't dead. The hunter-nin was fake. The senbone placement was wrong for a kill strike. They'd be back. Good. He needed to test his abilities against real opponents, needed to understand the limits of his power before he pushed further. And most importantly, he needed to save Haku. The boy in the mask had potential, the kind of dedicated, skilled potential that could be redirected, reformed, recruited. His Sternritter would need numbers eventually. Why not start with someone who already understood loyalty and sacrifice? Zabuza, Naruto thought, black eyes reflecting the distant mist. When we meet again, I'll show you what real power looks like. And then I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. Inside, Kakashi was already grilling Tazuna about the full extent of Gato's operations, getting a complete picture of the political situation. Inside, Sasuke was checking his equipment, mind racing with questions about what he'd witnessed. Inside, Sakura was writing notes in her medical journal, trying to understand the physiology of what Naruto had done. But Naruto stood outside, communing with the darkness, feeling the risey flow through him like a second bloodstream and planning his next moves. Wave Country would be the crucible that forged Team 7 into something extraordinary. He would make certain of it. 1 week later, bridge construction sight the bridge stretched across gray water like a promise, incomplete, vulnerable, symbolic. Tazuna's dream of reconnecting Wave Country to the mainland, breaking Gato's stranglehold on their economy. Team 7 had spent the week training while protecting the bridge builder. Kakashi pushed them harder than academy standards, recognizing that soft training would get them killed. Sasuke's Sharingan developed rapidly under pressure. Sakura discovered she could enhance her strikes with chakra control that bordered on superhuman. And Naruto climbed trees faster than anyone, walked on water like it was solid ground, moved through forms that looked like taijutsu but felt like something else, something older, more fundamental. Kakashi watched him with increasing unease, Sharingan active more often than not, trying to understand what he was seeing. "Sensei," Sasuke said during a water-walking exercise, "the Hunter-nin, something was wrong about them." "Explain." "The senbone placement. I studied it in my clan's medical texts. Those strikes would induce death-like paralysis, not actual death. Zabuza's still alive." Kakashi's visible eye curved in what might be approval. "Very good, I reached the same conclusion." "Which means he'll attack again when we're vulnerable," Naruto finished. "Probably at the bridge, maximum drama, maximum leverage, he'll want Tazuna in the open." "So what do we do?" Sakura asked. "We prepare," Naruto said simply, "and we turn his ambush into ours." They spent 3 more days training, preparing, coordinating. Naruto taught them advanced applications of their mental communication network. Kakashi grudgingly admitted the technique was useful, even if he didn't understand its mechanisms. On the morning of the 7th day, they arrived at the bridge to find the construction workers unconscious, scattered across the deck like broken dolls. And standing in the center, massive blade gleaming, was Zabuza Momochi. Behind him, the masked hunter-nin from before, radiating cold efficiency. "Kakashi," Zabuza greeted, voice carrying across the water. "I see you figured it out, clever, but cleverness won't save you today." Kakashi lifted his hit 8, sharing and spinning. "Team 7, Formation Beta, protect Tazuna." But Naruto stepped forward past Kakashi, black eyes fixed on the masked figure. "Wait, Naruto," Kakashi warned. "Trust me, sensei." Naruto walked forward slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. "I want to talk to the boy in the mask." Zabuza laughed. "Talk." "We're here to kill you, kid." "No, you're here to get paid, there's a difference." Naruto stopped 20 feet away. "Haku, right? That's your name, the boy who sees Zabuza as more precious than himself." The masked figure flinched, barely, but enough. "How?" Zabuza started. "I pay attention, I saw how he carried you, how carefully he placed those senbone, not a hunter-nin, a protector, a tool who thinks he's worthless except for his use to you." Naruto's voice was soft but carried perfectly in the morning mist. "I understand that feeling, the need to be useful to justify existing, the belief that your life only matters if it serves someone else." "Haku," Zabuza growled. "Don't listen to him." But Haku was listening, head tilted slightly. "I'm not here to kill you," Naruto continued. "Either of you, I'm here to offer something different, a purpose beyond being Gato's hired muscle. A chance to actually matter in the world instead of existing in its shadows." "Pretty words from a child," Zabuza mocked, but his grip on his blade tightened. "I'm not a child." "Not really." Naruto's eyes seemed to darken, taking on depth that shouldn't exist in a 12-year-old's gaze. "I'm something older wearing a child's face, and I see potential in both of you. Zabuza, you're a master of silent killing, a tactical genius, a survivor. Haku, you're loyal, skilled, possessing a bloodline limit that makes you nearly unstoppable in the right conditions. Both of you are wasted on petty crime lord's payroll. And what are you offering instead?" Zabuza asked, genuinely curious now. "Purpose, direction, power." Naruto spread his hands. "I'm building something, a new order, where strength is recognized and utilized properly, where loyalty is rewarded and potential is cultivated, where people like us, the broken, the feared, the different, can stand proud instead of hiding." "You're insane," Zabuza said, but he hadn't attacked yet. "Probably, but I'm also offering you a choice." Naruto's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "Fight me and I'll have to hurt you, maybe kill you, it would be wasteful, tragic. Or walk away from Gato, walk away from this life and join me, Help me build something worth dying for instead of just surviving until someone stronger comes along. Haku's mask turned toward Zabuza, clearly seeking guidance. The demon of the mist stared at this strange blonde child who spoke like an ancient king, offering recruitment in the middle of an assassination contract. Then Zabuza started laughing, deep, genuine, slightly unhinged laughter. "You've got balls, kid, I'll give you that." He hefted his blade. "But pretty words don't pay debts. Gato hired us and the demon of the mist keeps his contracts. Even if I wanted to take your insane offer, Gato's not going to pay you," Naruto interrupted. "He's planning to betray you. There's an army of thugs waiting just beyond the bridge to kill you both and eliminate the expense." "I've seen it," Zabuza's eyes narrowed. "How could you possibly? Because I sent a shadow clone to scout his compound yesterday. Because I think 3 steps ahead. Because I'm giving you facts, not promises." Naruto pulled out a folded paper, photographs taken by his clone through windows. "Gato meeting with mercenaries discussing the Zabuza problem." Zabuza snatched the paper, studied it, and his expression darkened. "That backstabbing," he trailed off, a string of creative curses following. "So," Naruto said calmly, "do we fight or do we talk?" Zabuza looked at Haku. Haku looked at Zabuza. Some silent communication passed between them. Then slowly, deliberately, Zabuza drove his blade into the bridge deck and stepped away from it. "We talk, but if this is a trick, child, I'll paint this bridge with your blood." "Fair enough." Naruto smiled, and it was the first genuine smile he'd shown since this entire mission began. "Welcome to the beginning of something extraordinary." Behind him, Team 7 and Kakashi stood in shocked silence. Naruto Uzumaki had just recruited one of the most dangerous missing nin in the bingo book, by talking. Kakashi covered his Sharingan, suddenly feeling very old and very confused. What was Naruto becoming? And more importantly, was Konoha ready for it? Wave Country, the great Naruto bridge same day, minutes after Zabuza's recruitment, the tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut. Kakashi's hand hovered near a kunai pouch, Sharingan still spinning slowly beneath his lifted Hidayate. Sasuke and Sakura flanked Tazuna, ready for violence despite the apparent negotiation. Zabuza and Haku stood opposite, the missing nin's blade still embedded in the bridge deck between them like a line neither side had fully crossed. "So," Zabuza said, crossing his arms, "you want us to betray our current contract, throw away our reputation as reliable mercenaries and join, what exactly, your Genin team?" His tone dripped with sarcasm, but his eyes were calculating. "Not my team," Naruto corrected. "My vision, the team is just the beginning." He gestured around the bridge. "Look at Wave Country, impoverished, oppressed, dying slowly because one man controls their economy. Now look at the elemental nations, 5 great villages, countless smaller ones, all locked in cycles of war and temporary peace. The system is broken, Zabuza, you know this. You lived it, pretty philosophy from someone who's never seen real war." "You're right, I haven't." Naruto's admission surprised everyone. "But I've seen the aftermath. I've lived as the scapegoat for a village's fear. I've studied the patterns. Each war creates the seeds of the next. Each peace treaty is just an intermission before the next atrocity." His black eyes gleamed. "I'm going to break that cycle. And I need people who understand the system's flaws from personal experience." Haku's mask tilted toward Naruto. "You speak of breaking cycles, yet you're a ninja of Konoha. The system's most successful product. Am I?" Naruto smiled without warmth. "Or am I something the system created accidentally and doesn't know how to classify? The Jinchuriki they fear, the orphan they neglect, the student who exceeds every expectation while being denied basic humanity." "Naruto," Kakashi warned, but his voice lacked conviction. Everything his student said was technically true. "My point," Naruto continued, "is that I understand being outside the system while trapped within it, and I'm positioning myself to change it from the inside. Zabuza, Haku, you've been running for years, hiding, surviving. I'm offering something different, a chance to stand openly, to build instead of destroy, to matter." "In exchange for what?" Zabuza's question was sharp. "What do you actually want from us? Loyalty, skills, time." Naruto began walking forward slowly, hands still visible. "I'm going to become Hokage. It will take years, but it's inevitable. When that happens, I'll need people I can trust in positions that matter." Haku could legitimize as a Konoha nin, develop his bloodline properly, become something more than a tool. You, Zabuza, could lead AA Chenbu divisions, teach the next generation of silent killers, have the respect you've always deserved. "That's insane," Zabuza said flatly. "The village would never accept us." We're in the bingo book. They'll accept what I tell them to accept because I'll be too valuable to refuse. Naruto stopped 5 feet from Zabuza, but I need to prove something first. To you, to my team, to myself. He turned to face the far end of the bridge where mist was beginning to clear, and revealed the army. Gato stood at the front of roughly 200 armed thugs, mercenaries, bandits, the dregs of society held together by greed and fear. The crime lord himself was short, oily, clutching a cane, face twisted in greedy malice. Zabuza, Gato called out, voice carrying across water and wood. I see you've got the bridge builder cornered. Excellent. But why draw this out? Kill them all and be done with it. Zabuza's expression darkened. Gato, we need to talk about payment. Payment? Gato laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Oh yes, about that. You're far too expensive for what you've delivered. I've decided to renegotiate our contract. Kill them all, including the girl, and maybe I'll pay you half. Or, his smile widened, my men can kill you too and I pay nothing. The army of thugs laughed, weapons gleaming. Zabuza's killing intent exploded outward, thick and choking. Several thugs at the back actually fainted from the pressure. You dare, I dare. Naruto's voice cut through the moment, calm as still water. He walked past Zabuza, past the demon's massive blade, past the point of safety, until he stood at the very front of their group. Gato, is it? I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Before this goes any further, I want to make something very clear. The crime lord squinted at him. Who's the brat? Your last chance to live. Naruto's smile was terrible to behold. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to order your men to stand down. You're going to liquidate your assets in Wave Country and donate the proceeds to Tazuna's bridge fund. You're going to leave this country and never return. And if you do all this quickly enough, I might let you keep your life. The silence lasted 3 full heartbeats. Then Gato laughed, his men laughed. Even Zabuza looked at Naruto like he'd lost his mind. Or, Gato wheezed through his laughter, my 200 trained fighters kill you, kill your friends, and I take everything anyway. What do you think of that plan, little boy? Naruto's expression didn't change. I think you've made your choice. He raised one hand, fingers spread, and the world changed. The slaughter 3 minutes that changed everything. Naruto's eyes shifted, not the red of the Nine Tails, but something else. The black deepened, became absolute, and for just a moment, everyone on that bridge felt like they were staring into infinity. Rising flooded the area, invisible to those without the ability to sense it, but oppressive in its presence. The spiritual particles in the air responded to his will like iron filings to a magnet. Hokage, he moved. To Gato's army, he simply vanished. One moment standing still, the next he was among them, a blonde blur moving at speeds that shouldn't be possible without advanced chakra enhancement. But this wasn't chakra, this was something older, something fundamental. The first 10 thugs fell before they understood they were under attack. Naruto didn't kill, not yet, but his strikes were precise, brutal. Enhanced by blood artery, the offensive version of his spiritual armor, each blow shattered bones, ruptured organs, sent grown men flying like ragdolls. Get him! Gato screamed. He's just one brat, they swarmed. 50 men converging with swords, clubs, makeshift weapons. Naruto formed seals, rapid fire, too fast to track, and 24 shadow clones erupted into existence. But these weren't normal clones. Each one was reinforced with Raizhi, making them more durable, faster, harder to dispel than standard academy techniques should allow. The clones moved with his tactical precision, each one an extension of his will. They didn't fight like Genin or even Chunin. They fought like soldiers who'd seen 1,000 battlefields, who understood violence on a fundamental level. This is wrong, Kakashi thought, sharing and spinning frantically, trying to understand what he was seeing. Those movements, that efficiency. No 12-year-old should fight like that. It's like watching someone who's lived multiple lifetimes. Sasuke's Sharingan was active too, recording everything, and the Uchiha's face was pale with comprehension. He's not even trying, he whispered. This isn't his full power, he's just cleaning up. Sakura stood frozen, caught between horror and awe. Haku watched in silence, mask hiding whatever emotions played across his face. Zabuza just smiled sharp and predatory. Well, he muttered, maybe the kid wasn't exaggerating after all. Naruto moved through the army like death itself. Hokage propelled him between targets faster than they could track. Blood protected him from the few strikes that landed. And his tactical mind, that cold, calculating intelligence that terrified his teachers, orchestrated the chaos with mathematical precision. 30 seconds, 50 men down, 60 seconds, 100 men down, 90 seconds. The survivors were running, breaking ranks, fleeing from the demon child who dismantled them without expression, without mercy, without apparent effort. Gato stood frozen at the bridge entrance, face pale, cane trembling in his grip. Naruto walked toward him through the field of groaning, broken bodies. His clothes were spattered with blood, none of it his own. His breathing was steady. His eyes were empty of everything except cold purpose. "I gave you a choice," Naruto said softly. "You chose poorly." "Wait." Gato dropped to his knees, all his arrogance evaporating. "Please, I'll do anything, I'll pay you." "Name your price." Naruto stopped 3 feet away. "Your price was everything. You exploited an entire country, starved children, broke families, murdered anyone who opposed you, all for profit, all because you could." "I'm sorry." "I'm so sorry." Tears streamed down Gato's face. "Please, I have money, connections, I can." "You're stalling," Naruto observed. "Hoping someone will save you. No one is coming, Gato. No one cares about you. You built your empire on fear, and fear dies the moment someone stronger appears." He raised his hand, fingers glowing with barely visible risy threads. "Wait!" Tazuna's voice cut through the moment. The bridge builder had run forward, panting, eyes wide. Don't become a murderer for us." Naruto looked back, expression unreadable. "He's killed dozens, possibly hundreds." "Justice demands, justice or revenge," Tazuna demanded. "You're a child, don't carry that weight. Let him face the court's proper judgment. Don't stain your soul." For a long moment, Naruto simply stood there, hand still raised, Gato whimpering at his feet. Then slowly he lowered his hand. "Zabuza," he called out. "You said you keep your contracts. Your contract was to kill Tazuna and stop the bridge. I'm offering a new contract. Bind this man, escort him to Wave's provisional government, and ensure he faces legal justice. Payment, my sponsorship when we return to Konoha." Zabuza walked forward, massive blade now on his shoulder, and his grin was terrible. "That's a contract I'm happy to accept." He looked down at Gato. "You're lucky, little man. The kid has more mercy than me. I'd have gutted you where you kneel." Haku moved to help secure Gato, producing rope from seemingly nowhere. Naruto turned back to his team, and as he walked, the cold emptiness in his eyes gradually filled with something more human. By the time he reached them, he looked almost like a normal 12-year-old again, if you ignored the blood and the unconscious army behind him. "Sensei," he said quietly, "I'm sorry you had to see that." Kakashi pulled down his mask for just a moment, a gesture of profound seriousness, and his expression was complicated beyond words. "Naruto." "What are you?" "I don't know," Naruto admitted, and for the first time he sounded uncertain. "Young. I have these abilities, this knowledge. Sometimes I feel like I'm remembering things I never learned, seeing patterns I shouldn't recognize. It's like there's something old inside me guiding me, pushing me towards something I can't quite see yet. That's terrifying. I know, I terrify myself sometimes." Naruto looked at his hands, still faintly glowing with Raizhi. "But I'm still me, still Naruto. I still want to protect people, still dream of being Hokage. I just come with more baggage than most." Sasuke stepped forward, sharing and fading. "That power, can you teach it? Some of it." "Maybe," Naruto met his teammate's eyes. "But it comes with a price. Using this power changes you. I can feel it every time, the coldness creeping in, the emotional distance, the calculation replacing feeling. If I teach you, you need to understand. Power without humanity isn't strength, it's just destruction." "I understand," Sasuke said, though his eyes burned with want. "Teach me anyway." Sakura touched Naruto's arm tentatively. "You stopped when Tazuna-san asked. You were going to kill Gato, but you stopped. That's the humanity you're worried about losing. As long as you can still stop, you're still you." Naruto looked at her, surprised, then smiled, genuine and warm. "When did you become wise, Sakura?" "Someone on this team needs to be the conscience," she said softly. "Might as well be me." The moment was broken by the sound of cheering. Wave country citizens had emerged from hiding, witnessing the defeat of their oppressor, and they flooded onto the bridge with tears and gratitude. Tazuna was swept up in embraces. Zabuza and Haku efficiently processed Gato's arrest, and Team 7 stood together, united and fundamentally changed by what they'd witnessed. Kakashi watched them, especially Naruto, with deep unease. He'd need to report this to the Hokage, all of it. The impossible speed, the strange techniques, the tactical genius that bordered on precognition. But he'd also witnessed something else. Naruto choosing mercy when violence would have been easier. That meant something. That meant hope. Maybe. 2 weeks later, Konoha Hokage's office, the mission report had taken hours to compile. Kakashi stood before Hiruzen's desk, feeling ancient despite being in his prime. while Team 7 waited outside and Zabuza and Haku occupied holding cells in the Chenbu headquarters, not as prisoners, but as guests pending evaluation. Let me make sure I understand, Hiruzen said slowly, pipe smoke curling toward the ceiling. Your C-rank escort mission became an A-rank assassination contract. You encountered Zabuza Momochi, an S-rank missing nin. Instead of fighting, your 12-year-old student recruited him through negotiation. Then said student single-handedly defeated an army of 200 men in under 3 minutes using techniques you couldn't identify or understand. Have I summarized correctly? Unfortunately, yes, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen rubbed his temples. And Zabuza agreed to Naruto's recruitment. He did. He and his apprentice Haku are requesting asylum in Konoha under Naruto's sponsorship. They're willing to submit to truth verification, psychological evaluation, and probationary monitoring. Because of a 12-year-old's charisma. Because of what that 12-year-old represents. Kakashi's visible eye was troubled. Hokage-sama, I've known Naruto since he was assigned to my team. I've seen him grow, but this was different. The way he fought, the way he spoke, the way he planned 3 steps ahead of everyone, it was like watching someone who's lived multiple lifetimes. Old eyes in a young face. Your recommendation, Kakashi was silent for a long moment. Advanced training, constant monitoring, and trust, because despite everything I witnessed, despite the power he demonstrated, he chose mercy when he could have chosen death. That means something. That means he's still reachable, still human beneath whatever else he's becoming. And if he's not, if he's something dangerous that we've failed to recognize, then we're already too late to stop him. He's that powerful. Kakashi met the Hokage's eyes. But I don't think he's dangerous, not to us, not to Konoha. I think he's exactly what he claims to be, someone trying to reshape the world into something better. The question is whether we help him or oppose him. Hiruzen absorbed this in silence, then pulled out a file from his desk. I have reports from Naruto's academy instructors. All of them note the same pattern, extreme competence coupled with emotional distance. Several noted that he seemed to be playing a role rather than living authentically, and there's this. He pushed a medical report across the desk. From when he was 6, he was brought to the hospital with a high fever. The medics couldn't identify the cause. It broke on its own after 3 days. When he woke up, everyone noted that he seemed different. Changed how? Colder, more focused, like someone had flipped a switch in his personality. Hiruzen's expression was grave. I've seen this pattern once before, in Orochimaru years ago. A sudden shift from curiosity to obsession, from human to something else. I failed to intervene then, and it cost us one of our greatest ninja. I won't make that mistake again. What are you saying? I'm saying we watch Naruto Uzumaki very carefully. We provide him every opportunity to grow as a loyal Konoha nin. We give him purpose, direction, mentorship, but we also prepare for the possibility that he's not what he appears to be. The Hokage's eyes were hard. The village comes first, always. Understood, Kakashi bowed slightly. What about Zabuza and Haku? Process them, full evaluation. If they're genuine, if Naruto's assessment is accurate, then we gain 2 powerful additions to our forces. If not, Hiruzen didn't need to finish the sentence. And Team 7, increased training, harder missions. I want them tested, pushed, prepared for what's coming, because something is coming, Kakashi. I can feel it in my bones. The peace is fragile, the other villages are mobilizing, and we need every advantage we can get. They're just children. So were we once, Hiruzen smiled sadly. War doesn't care about age. It never has. Same day training ground 7 evening Naruto sat alone on the memorial stone, watching the sun set over Konoha. The village stretched out below him, thousands of lights beginning to flicker on as darkness fell, each one a life, a story, a potential ally or obstacle. He could feel Kurama's consciousness stirring, always present now, a constant companion in his mindscape. You're troubled, Kit, am I? You displayed too much power, drew too much attention. The old man will be watching you now. Probably assigning Chenbu to monitor your every move. I know, that was necessary. Necessary? They needed to see what I'm capable of. Fear breeds respect, Kurama, and I need their respect before I can earn their trust. Naruto traced a name on the memorial stone, his father's name, though he didn't yet know the connection. Besides, I saved people, protected Wave Country, recruited 2 powerful allies. From any objective standpoint, I succeeded. At the cost of revealing you're not normal. I was never normal. They've known that since my birth. I'm just redefining what not normal means in my case. The fox chuckled darkly. You're a manipulative little monster, you know that? I prefer strategically minded. Call it what you want, but that display on the bridge, that coldness, that calculation, that wasn't all strategy. You enjoyed it. Naruto was silent for a long moment. Maybe I did. There's something satisfying about perfect execution, about seeing a plan unfold exactly as predicted, about having power and using it effectively. He looked at his hands, remembering the glow of Rise-He, the efficiency of violence. Does that make me a monster? Depends on your definition. To them, the fox gestured mentally toward the village, you're becoming exactly what they fear. A weapon with its own agenda. To me, you're finally interesting. Keep walking this path, Kit, and you might actually achieve the impossible. Which is, changing the world without destroying yourself in the process. Talking to yourself again? Naruto didn't startle. He'd sensed her approach minutes ago, the familiar presence of weapons and determination. He turned to find Tenten standing a few feet away, twin buns silhouetted against the sunset, carrying her usual weapons scroll. Something like that, he said. What brings you here? I heard about your mission. The whole village is talking about it. She sat down beside him, close enough to be friendly, far enough to be respectful. You defeated an army at 12, that's incredible. Or terrifying, depending on your perspective. Can it be both? She smiled, and it was genuine, warm. I've been watching you, Naruto Uzumaki. Not in a creepy way, she added quickly. Just noticing you train harder than anyone, you think differently, you're always 3 steps ahead. It's impressive. You're not afraid of me. Should I be? Naruto considered the question seriously. Probably. I'm dangerous, not in the might lose control way, but in the know exactly what I'm doing and that's worse way. I calculate everything, plan everything. Sometimes I feel like I'm moving pieces on a board that other people can't see. That sounds lonely. The observation hit harder than expected. Naruto looked at her, really looked, and saw genuine concern mixed with curiosity. No fear, no suspicion, just interest. It is, he admitted quietly. Being smart enough to see the patterns but not wise enough to know which ones matter. Being powerful enough to change things but not experienced enough to know what to change them into. Being alone in a crowd because your mind works differently than everyone else's. Tenten was quiet for a moment then. You're not alone. You have Team 7 and, she hesitated, you have me if you want, as a friend, someone who's not on your team, not under your command, just someone who thinks you're interesting and wants to know you better. Naruto felt something shift in his chest, something warm, unfamiliar, dangerous in its own way. Why? Because everyone else sees you as a puzzle to solve or a threat to manage. I see you as a person. A weird, complicated, probably going to reshape the world person, but still a person. She bumped his shoulder gently with hers. Plus, you're cute when you're not being terrifyingly competent. He laughed, genuinely laughed for the first time in weeks. I'm 12. I'm 14, I can wait. Her smile was sly, knowing, I'm patient. And I have a feeling you're going to be very interesting to know as you grow up. They sat together as the sun finished setting, and for a few precious minutes, Naruto allowed himself to simply be, not the calculating strategist. Not the vessel of strange powers, not the future Hokage or potential threat or any other label people applied to him, just Naruto, sitting with a girl who saw him as human despite everything. It was nice. Well, Kurama's voice rumbled with amusement. The Ice Prince has a heart after all. This should be entertaining. Shut up, Naruto thought, but there was no heat in it. Naruto, Tenten said after a while. That power you used, the speed, the strength, the strange energy, what is it? Honestly, I'm still figuring that out. He looked at his hands again. It's like I have 2 different power systems running simultaneously. Chakra, the normal ninja energy everyone uses, and something else, something older, more fundamental. I call it spiritual energy, but that doesn't really capture what it is. Can you teach it? Maybe, parts of it. But it's connected to whatever I am, whatever I'm becoming. Teaching it might be dangerous. Dangerous how? It might change people, make them more like me, cold, calculating, efficient. He met her eyes. I'm not sure that's a gift I should give. What if someone wanted to be changed? What if they understood the cost and chose it anyway? Tenten's expression was serious. You're trying to reshape the world, right? You'll need help. Allies who can match your level, people willing to evolve with you. You're offering? I'm considering. She stood, brushing off her clothes. Think about it. In the meantime, train with me sometime. I want to see that speed of yours up close. Maybe figure out how to counter it. Counter it? Hey, if we're going to be friends, I need to keep you humble. She grinned. Can't have you thinking you're completely unstoppable. She walked away, leaving Naruto sitting on the memorial stone, watching her go with something that might be fondness or might be calculation or might be both. I like her, Kurama announced. She's got fire, and she's not intimidated by you, that's rare. She should be intimidated, I could hurt her. But you won't, that's the point. She knows you're dangerous and chooses to approach anyway. That's not foolishness, that's courage, or interest in power. Maybe, but she asked about training with you, not learning from you. She wants to challenge you, not use you. There's a difference. Naruto stood, stretching, feeling the Rise flow through him like a second bloodstream. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, integration of Zabuza and Haku, increased scrutiny from the village leadership, harder missions for Team 7. But tonight he had something unexpected, a friend who saw him as human, an anchor point to reality that didn't demand anything except recognition. That was valuable, more valuable than he'd initially calculated. He walked home through darkening streets, and if the AA Chenbu following him noticed his small smile, they didn't mention it in their reports. Some things were still private, some things were still his. Konoha 3 months after Wave Country Training Ground 7, the morning air was cool, carrying the scent of dew and possibility. Naruto stood in the center of the training ground, eyes closed, breathing steady, while around him the world bent to his will. Rise particles floated visibly now to those who could see them, creating a faint blue shimmer in the air. He'd stopped hiding this aspect of his power from Team 7 weeks ago. Trust required truth, even if only in measured doses. Sasuke circled left, sharing an active, analyzing patterns. Sakura moved right, enhanced strength-ready medical knowledge making her aware of every pressure point and vulnerable spot. Kakashi watched from the sidelines, visible eye tracking everything while his covered Sharingan remained ready. And Tenten sat in a tree, legs swinging, weapons scroll beside her, watching with unconcealed fascination. They'd been sparring like this for weeks now, Team 7 against Naruto, with Tenten occasionally joining to even the odds. It was the only way to push him, to force him to adapt, to prevent him from becoming complacent. Begin, Kakashi called. The attack came instantly. Sasuke led with a fire-style jutsu, Grand Fireball, executed with Uchiha precision. Sakura followed immediately, using the flames as cover to close distance. Kakashi threw shuriken from multiple angles, each one aimed to limit Naruto's escape routes. Predictable, Naruto thought, not unkindly. They were learning, improving, but they still telegraphed their intentions through micro-movements he'd taught himself to read. Haku. He stepped through space, appearing behind Sasuke, hand raised for a strike. Tenten's kunai whistled past his ear, perfect timing, forcing him to adjust mid-motion. She'd been learning his patterns too, understanding his preferences, his tells. He smiled. The spar intensified. Sasuke's Sharingan tracked his movements better than before. The Uchiha was adapting, evolving. Sakura's strikes were becoming more confident, less hesitant, the girl finally embracing her potential for violence. And Kakashi coordinated them with Jonin-level tactical awareness, creating overlapping attacks that limited even Naruto's options. For 5 full minutes they pushed him, made him work, made him think. Then he stopped holding back quite so much. Rise threads spread outward, invisible to normal eyes but felt as pressure. They wrapped around his opponent's limbs, not restraining, just guiding. Subtle manipulation that made Sasuke's next strike miss by inches, caused Sakura to stumble slightly, disrupted Kakashi's timing. That's cheating, Sasuke growled, but his eyes were bright with challenge. That's adaptation, Naruto corrected. In real combat there's no such thing as cheating, only winning or losing. He formed hand seals, rapid, fluid, and 30 shadow clones burst into existence. But these weren't dispersed randomly. Each one took a specific position, creating a 3-dimensional web of tactical advantage. Team 7 responded beautifully. 3 months of training together, of learning to read each other through Naruto's mental communication network, had forged them into something exceptional. They moved as one unit, compensating for each other's weaknesses, amplifying each other's strengths. It still wasn't enough. Naruto dismantled them with careful precision, never hurting, always teaching. Each strike illustrated a lesson. Each counter demonstrated a principle. By the time the spar ended, all 3 were breathing hard, covered in dirt and minor bruises, while Naruto stood barely winded. Better, he said, offering a hand to help Sakura up. Much better. Sasuke, your Sharingan tracking has improved by approximately 23% since last week. Sakura, your chakra control is approaching Jonin level. Kakashi-sensei, he paused, considering, you're holding back, still treating this as training rather than real combat. Because it is training, Kakashi said mildly. If I went all out against my students, you'd all end up in the hospital. Would we? Naruto's smile was sharp. I wonder. The challenge hung in the air. Kakashi met his student's eyes and saw something that made his instincts scream warnings. Naruto wasn't boasting. He genuinely believed he could match a Jonin in serious combat. More disturbing, he might be right. Impressive as always, Tenten called down from her tree. But can you do it without your special energy tricks, pure taijutsu? Against you, probably. Naruto looked up at her, genuine warmth in his expression. Want to test that theory? She dropped from the branch, landing with practiced grace, and drew a pair of tanto from her scroll. Always, their sparring was different, less about proving superiority, more about mutual improvement. Tenten pushed him in ways his team didn't, forcing him to adapt to unpredictable weapons work, random variables, creative chaos that disrupted his careful calculations. She lasted longer than Team 7 had, not because she was stronger, she wasn't, not yet, but because she understood something fundamental about Naruto that the others were still learning. His greatest weakness was his need for control. Introduce enough chaos, enough randomness, and his perfect strategies began to fray. When they finally stopped, both were grinning, breathing hard, alive with the thrill of honest challenge. You're getting better, Naruto admitted. You're getting predictable, she countered. You always favor efficiency over creativity. Sometimes the messy solution is the right one. Noted, he offered his hand. She took it, and their fingers lingered just a moment longer than necessary. Interesting, Kurama observed from within. The weapon girl makes you act less like a calculating machine and more like an actual human. That's either very good or very dangerous. Why not both? Naruto thought back. Team 7, everyone turned to see Kakashi holding a scroll, his visible eye serious. Chunin exam nominations just went out. I'm putting all three of you forward. Silence. Then Sasuke. We've only been genin for 3 months. And you've completed 12 D ranks, 8 C ranks, and 1 A rank that should have killed you, but instead resulted in recruiting an S rank missing nin. You're ready? Kakashi's gaze settled on Naruto. More than ready. The question is whether you want this. Of course we want it, Sakura said immediately. This is our chance to prove ourselves. It's also dangerous, Kakashi warned. Genin die in the Chunin exams. Every year, the Forest of Death isn't named that ironically, and this year, he hesitated. This year will be especially brutal. All 5 great nations are sending teams. Political tensions are high. Some villages will use this as an opportunity to eliminate future threats. You mean me, Naruto said flatly. Word has spread about Wave Country. Other villages see me as a potential problem. Yes, good. Naruto's smile was cold. Let them come, let them see what I'm capable of. Maybe it'll make them think twice about future conflicts. Or make you a priority target for assassination. Then they'd better not miss. Naruto turned to his teammates. Sasuke, Sakura, this is your choice. Following me into the exams means accepting that we'll have targets on our backs, that we'll face enemies who want us specifically dead. I won't blame you if— Shut up, Sasuke interrupted. We're a team, where you go, we go. Besides, his Sharingan spun lazily, I want to test myself against the best, see where I stand. I'm in, Sakura agreed. Someone needs to keep you 2 idiots alive. Kakashi nodded slowly. Then it's decided. The exams begin in 1 week. Use that time to prepare, train, rest, get your affairs in order. His visible eye found Naruto again. And Naruto, try not to reveal everything you can do. Some secrets are worth keeping. Understood, sensei. As Team 7 dispersed to prepare, Tenten lingered, falling into step beside Naruto as he headed toward the village. So, she said casually, big scary Chunin exams, threats from all 5 nations, death around every corner. That's an accurate summary, yes. Want company, for training, I mean. My team isn't entering, Lee and Neji need more time apparently, but I could help you prepare. Weapons training, tactical drills, maybe some creative chaos to keep you sharp. Naruto looked at her, really looked, and saw past the casual offer to the genuine concern beneath. You're worried about me? Shouldn't I be? You're planning to walk into an arena full of people who want you dead or captured or dissected to understand your powers. That's— she searched for the word— stupid. Gloriously, magnificently stupid. But necessary. The exams are a stage, a chance to demonstrate what I represent to the entire ninja world simultaneously. I can't hide forever, Tenten. Eventually, I need to be seen. As what? A threat, a target, as inevitable. His black eyes gleamed with something ancient. As the future they can't stop, only join or be left behind by. She was quiet for a moment then. You know what? I'm definitely helping you train. Someone needs to make sure you don't disappear completely into your own ego. He laughed, genuine, warm. Deal, but I warn you, I'm a terrible training partner. I calculate everything. I know. That's what makes it fun. She bumped his shoulder affectionately. Besides, if you're going to reshape the world, you'll need someone around to remind you that chaos exists, that not everything can be planned. Is that what you are? My designated chaos, among other things. Her smile was mysterious. You'll figure it out eventually, you're smart like that. They walked together through Konoha's streets, and if anyone noticed the way they moved in sync, the way they communicated without words, they didn't comment. The village was getting used to seeing Naruto Uzumaki with allies, with friends, with people who chose to stand beside him despite, or because of what he was becoming. It was progress, small, incremental, but real. 1 week later, Chunin Exam Registration Academy building the room was packed with genin from across the elemental nations. Konoha teams clustered together, Rookie 9 plus various older teams. Sound Village ninjas lurked in corners, their chakra signatures wrong somehow, artificial. Sand siblings stood apart, radiating danger, especially the red-haired boy with the gourd and eyes like bottomless pits. Naruto felt him before he saw him. The killing intent, the madness, the demon barely contained beneath human skin. Another Jinchuriki, Kurama observed, and one who's fighting with his biju instead of working with it. This could be interesting or tragic. Their eyes met across the room and the moment stretched. 2 containers, 2 weapons, 2 boys trying to be human while holding monsters inside. Gaara's expression didn't change, but sand began to swirl around his feet unconsciously. His siblings tensed, hands moving toward weapons. Naruto simply nodded, a gesture of recognition, of understanding, of something that might be respect. The sand settled, Gaara's eyes narrowed, but he returned the nod. That's the Jinchuriki from Suna, Sasuke muttered through their mental link, one tails, supposedly never been injured in combat, completely unstable. He's alone, Naruto thought back, fighting his demon instead of working with it, tragic waste of potential. Are you going to recruit him too? Sakura asked aloud, voice dry. Collect all the dangerous people like they're trading cards? Maybe, Naruto's smile was slight. If he survives long enough to be worth recruiting, the exams will test him. Test all of us? Team 7 from Konohagakure, they turned to find a Chunin examiner checking names, bored expression barely masking the curiosity in his eyes. News of Naruto had spread through the village ranks. Everyone wanted to see the prodigy who'd defeated an army. Present, Kakashi confirmed, handing over their registration forms. Room 301, first exam begins in 1 hour. Don't be late, the examiner's eyes lingered on Naruto, and try not to destroy the building, we just renovated. No promises, Naruto said pleasantly. They moved through the crowd and Naruto cataloged every face, every team, every potential threat or ally. Sand, sound, stone, cloud, mist, all represented. This would be the most competitive exam in years. Perfect. That's when he felt it. Killing intent so vast, so overwhelming, that it made Zabuza's aura feel like a gentle breeze. It rolled through the room like a physical wave, pressing down on genin who dropped to their knees, gasping, some passing out entirely. Naruto remained standing, eyes narrowed, tracking the source. There, in the back corner, a sound genin with gray skin and yellow eyes, smiling like a snake, radiating power that was absolutely wrong for a genin. That's not a genin, Naruto thought. That's something else wearing a genin's disguise. That's Orochimaru, Kurama confirmed, voice grim, the snake Sannin, one of the most dangerous humans alive, and he's interested in you, Kit. Good. I've been curious about him too. The killing intent cut off as suddenly as it had begun. The disguised Sannin's eyes met Naruto's across the room, and there was hunger in that gaze, recognition, interest. Then Orochimaru smiled and disappeared into the crowd. What was that? Sakura whispered, face pale. A test, Naruto said calmly, and a warning, someone powerful is here watching us, waiting to see what we do. Should we report it? Sasuke's Sharingan was active, spinning, searching. To who? Kakashi-sensei already knows something's wrong, look at his posture, but we have no proof, no evidence, just a feeling. No, Naruto's eyes gleamed. We let them think they're being subtle, we prepare. And when they make their move, we counter with extreme prejudice. You sound like you're looking forward to it, Sakura observed. I am, powerful enemies make us stronger. And I suspect this particular enemy has information I need. They reached room 301, actually room 201 with a genjutsu overlay, which several teams failed to notice. Naruto dispelled it with a casual gesture, earning glares from the sound ninja maintaining the illusion. The real room 301 was packed. Ibiki Morino, legendary torturer and tea and ice specialist, stood at the front, scarred face expressionless, radiating the kind of casual menace that came from decades of breaking people mentally. "Welcome to the first test of the Chunin exams," he began, voice carrying effortlessly. "This is a written examination, 9 questions. You start with 10 points. Each wrong answer loses 1 point, cheat successfully and you keep your points. Get caught cheating and you lose 2 points. Lose all points and your entire team is disqualified." Murmurs rippled through the room. "The 10th question will be revealed with 15 minutes remaining. Begin." Papers flipped, pencils moved. And throughout the room, various information-gathering techniques activated, sharing and copying answers, Byakugan reading through papers, puppet techniques, insect spying, mirror reflection tricks. Naruto looked at the first question and immediately understood. These weren't questions for Genin. These were Jonin-level cipher work, tactical analysis, information-gathering problems. The test wasn't about knowing the answers. It was about obtaining them through espionage while not getting caught. He could answer them all. His knowledge, that strange, ancient knowledge that seemed to well up from nowhere, covered cryptography, military tactics, information theory at levels that shouldn't exist in a 12-year-old. But that would reveal too much. Instead, he activated his mental link. "Sasuke, use your Sharingan to copy answers from the sound Chunin 3 rows ahead. Sakura, you're memorizing the girl from San's answers. Your angle is better. I'll coordinate to ensure we don't look like we're working together." They executed flawlessly. To any observer, 3 separate students using 3 different methods, each catching different information at different times. No pattern, no coordination visible, except to someone with special eyes, except to someone watching for specifically this kind of efficiency. In the observation room, Hiruzen watched through one-way glass, Kakashi beside him. "They're coordinating," the Hokage observed. "Some technique allowing silent communication. Fascinating." "Naruto's invention," Kakashi confirmed. "I still don't fully understand the mechanics, but it's devastatingly effective." Too effective. That level of tactical coordination could shift entire battles. Hiruzen's expression was troubled. "He's creating something new, Kakashi, not just using unusual techniques, but fundamentally altering how shinobi can work together. The implications are revolutionary or catastrophic, depending on who controls it." "Exactly." On the exam floor, Ibiki prowled between desks, eliminating teams with ruthless efficiency. Each disqualification was a lesson: get caught, face consequences. The pressure mounted. Genin began to crack, doubt themselves, make mistakes. Naruto remained calm, projecting that calm to his teammates through their link, trust the process. "We're fine." 15 minutes before time expired, Ibiki spoke again. "The 10th question. But first I need to tell you the rules. You can choose not to answer. If you decline, you fail and your team is disqualified. If you accept and answer wrong, you fail this exam forever. You can never take the Chunin exams again." Panic. Immediate, visceral. Some teams stood to leave immediately, accepting failure over permanent elimination. Naruto smiled. "It's a psychological test," he projected. "The question doesn't matter. What matters is whether we're willing to risk everything for advancement. The answer is yes, we stay." Sasuke and Sakura remained seated, trusting his assessment. More teams left. The room emptied steadily, each departure a minor tragedy of lost nerve. Naruto watched Gaara. The Suna Jinchuriki sat perfectly still, no doubt or fear in his expression. He'd never considered leaving. His eyes held only certainty and madness in equal measure. "He's interesting," Naruto thought. Broken, but interesting. Finally, Ibiki spoke again. "For those who remain, you pass, all of you. There is no 10th question." Confusion. Anger, realization. The test was about information gathering and courage under pressure, about making hard choices with incomplete information, about trusting yourself and your team. Ibiki's smile was sharp. "Those who left lacked the resolve to risk everything. You who stayed have the mentality required for Chunin rank. Congratulations." The second proctor burst through the window, literally, in a shower of glass and dramatic purple cloth. Unko Mitarashi landed in a crouch, grinning maniacally. "All right, maggots, you passed the boring test. Now comes the fun part." She pointed at everyone. "Tomorrow, 600 hours, training ground 44. The Forest of Death. 5 days of survival, combat, and pure hell. Bring your A-game or bring a coffin." Dismissed. As the room emptied, Naruto felt eyes on him again. That pressure, that interest. Orochimaru was still watching. Still waiting, still planning something that involved Team 7 specifically. "Good," Naruto thought, gathering his things. "Come find me in the forest. Let's see what a Sannin really has to offer. Outside, Team 7 regrouped. The afternoon sun was warm, but tension hung in the air like humidity before a storm. Tomorrow begins the real test, Sasuke said, sharing and fading, the forest of death. That's where things get serious. That's where people die, Sakura corrected quietly. Every year, we need to be ready. We're ready, Naruto assured them. More than ready, but there's something I need to tell you both. Something I sensed during the first exam. He pulled them into a private alcove, activated their mental link to its fullest, and showed them what he'd felt, the overwhelming power, the snake-like presence. The attention focused specifically on them. Orochimaru is here, in the exams, wearing a disguise. And he's interested in us, probably in Sasuke specifically, because of the Sharingan, but possibly in all of us. When we enter the forest, he'll make his move. Sasuke's expression darkened. The man who destroyed Konoha's forces during the last war, the snake Sannin, why would he be interested in us? Because we're interesting. Because I'm an unknown variable and you're an Uchiha prodigy. Because Sakura has medical potential that rivals Tsunade. We're everything he collects, potential, power, possibility. What do? Sakura asked, fear and determination warring in her voice. We let him approach. We listen to what he offers. We learn what we can, and if he tries to hurt you, Naruto's eyes went cold and absolute, I'll kill him. Sannin or not, you can't kill Orochimaru, Sasuke said. He's one of the most powerful ninja alive. I can try, Naruto smiled, and it was terrifying. And I think I'd surprise him, but it won't come to that. He's here for recruitment, not murder. He wants to see what we're capable of, whether we're worth his time, so we'll show him, we'll demonstrate exactly what Team 7 has become. And then we decide whether he's a threat to eliminate or a resource to exploit. Naruto's smile widened. After all, knowledge is power, and a Sannin knows things about this world that could prove useful. They separated, each heading home to prepare for what tomorrow would bring. But as Naruto walked through Konoha's streets, he felt the future branching before him like a tree of infinite possibilities. Tomorrow, in the Forest of Death, everything would change. Orochimaru would make his offer. Gaara would reveal his true nature, and Naruto would take another step toward whatever he was becoming. Excited Kit, Kurama asked. Terrified, Naruto admitted. But yes, also excited. Is that wrong? It's human. Contradictions are what make your species interesting. The fox paused. Just remember, you're still young, still learning. Don't let your power make you arrogant. Even predators can be prey if they're careless. I'll be careful. No, you won't. You're planning to let a legendary Sannin approach you in a forest designed to kill people. That's the opposite of careful. Fine, I'll be strategically reckless. That's more like it. Naruto reached his apartment as the sun set, painting Konoha in shades of gold and crimson. He sat on his balcony, looking out over the village, and allowed himself a moment of genuine emotion. Fear, anticipation, hope, dread. Tomorrow would be dangerous, people would die, Team 7 would be tested beyond anything they'd faced. But they'd survive. He'd make certain of it, even if it meant revealing more of what he was. Even if it meant dancing with one of the most dangerous men alive. Even if it meant crossing lines he couldn't uncross. His team came first. His friends came first. The future he was building came first. Everything else was just variables he would manipulate, control, or eliminate as necessary. He was Naruto Uzumaki. And tomorrow, the Forest of Death would learn what that meant. Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death donned the fence surrounding Training Ground 44 stretched 40 feet high, wrapped in barbed wire and warning signs. Beyond it, the forest loomed, trees so tall they blocked out the sun, undergrowth thick enough to hide armies, and an atmosphere of menace that made even experienced ninja uncomfortable. Anko Mitarashi stood before the assembled teams, grinning like a woman who knew exactly how many would die in the coming days and found it entertaining. Welcome to the Forest of Death, she announced cheerfully. Also known as Training Ground 44, also known as the place where little genin becomes statistics. You have 5 days to reach the tower at the center. Each team gets one scroll, either heaven or earth. You need both to advance. Stealing, fighting, and killing are all permitted. Questions? A sound genin raised his hand. What if we encounter the wildlife? Run, fight, die, your choice. Anko's grin widened. The forest has bears, tigers, venomous insects, carnivorous plants, and leeches the size of small dogs. But honestly, the wildlife is the least of your problems. Other teams will be hunting you. And some of them, her eyes found Team 7 lingered on Naruto, are way more dangerous than any animal. Naruto felt the attention, felt dozens of eyes tracking him. News of Wave Country had spread through the Genin ranks. He was a target now, a priority. Good, he thought, let them come. One more thing, Anko continued, pulling out consent forms. These are waivers. Deaths happen in the forest. We're not liable. Sign or leave now. No one left. Team 7 signed without hesitation. Naruto noticed Sasuke's hand was steady, Sakura's determined. Good, they were ready. Across the crowd, Gaara stood with his siblings, sand swirling lazily around his feet. His eyes met Naruto's again, that same recognition, that same dark understanding. Two monsters acknowledging each other before the hunt began. Teams, take your positions at the gates, Anko called. You have 30 seconds, they moved. Team 7 took Gate 7, a random selection, though Naruto had calculated which gates would provide optimal entry points based on tower location and terrain analysis he'd studied weeks ago. The gate opened, and they entered the Forest of Death. Forest of Death, 30 minutes in the forest, was alive in ways that normal forests weren't. Sounds came from every direction, rustling leaves that might be wind or might be predators, distant screams that could be human or animal, the constant hum of insects that set nerves on edge. Team 7 moved in standard formation but enhanced. Naruto took point, using his spiritual senses to detect threats. Sasuke flanked right, sharing an active, tracking chakra signatures. Sakura held the center with their Heaven Scroll, ready to support either direction. 3 teams within a half-mile radius, Naruto reported through their mental link. One directly ahead appears to be Rain Nin. 2 more circling, one from stone, one I can't identify. The unknown team has strange chakra signatures. Wrong somehow. Sound? Sasuke asked. Possibly, or something else. Either way, they're tracking us specifically, have been since we entered. Strategy? Sakura's mental voice was calm, focused. Let them come close enough to reveal their intentions, but not close enough to prevent escape. I want to see what we're dealing with before engagement. They continued deeper, seemingly unaware of being tracked. Standard Genin behavior, cautious but not paranoid, alert but not prepared for serious threat. It was theater. Everything about their movement was calculated to present a specific image. Competent but not exceptional, dangerous but not overwhelming. The attack came from above. 3 Rain Genin dropped from the canopy, umbrellas spinning, senbone raining down in complex patterns designed to limit movement while driving targets into kill zones. Textbook ambush. Probably effective against most Genin teams. Team 7 wasn't most teams. Formation 3, Naruto commanded. They scattered, not in panic, but in coordinated vectors that put each of them in optimal counter positions. Sasuke's fire style burned through the senbone cloud, creating an opening. Sakura used her enhanced strength to hurl a boulder upward, disrupting the Rain Ninja's positioning. Naruto moved through the chaos with Iron Kyaku appearing behind the leader, kunai at throat. Heaven or earth? He asked calmly. Earth, the Rain Nin stammered, genuinely terrified. Wrong scroll. Unfortunate, Naruto applied pressure, not enough to kill, just enough to make the point. Leave, run, don't look back. Tell anyone who asks that Team 7 from Konoha isn't worth the trouble. They ran. That was merciful, Sasuke observed, sharing and still spinning. That was tactical, Naruto corrected. Let survivors spread fear, makes other teams cautious, gives us room to maneuver. Besides, he smiled slightly, they weren't our real problem. He turned to face the trees where he'd sensed the strange chakra. Are you going to keep hiding, or do we have to come find you? Silence. Then laughter, wrong, distorted, echoing from multiple directions simultaneously. The sound team emerged from the undergrowth. 3 ninja, but the one in the center was wrong. Gray skin, yellow eyes that gleamed with inhuman intelligence, and an aura of power that made the forest itself seem to lean away. Very good, Naruto-kun, the disguised Orochimaru said, voice layered with amusement and hunger. You sensed me even through my disguise. Fascinating. Tell me, how did you know? Your chakra tastes wrong, Naruto said, buying time to assess. Sasuke, Sakura, be ready. This is the Sannin I warned you about. He's going to make an offer or an attack. Either way, let me handle the talking. But if he attacks, Sakura started, then we show him exactly what we've become. Orochimaru's smile widened, impossibly wide, showing too many teeth. Wrong? How delightfully perceptive. But you're right, I am wrong. I'm many things this world considers wrong. A seeker of forbidden knowledge, a transgressor of natural law, a scientist who refuses to accept human limitations. He took a step forward. And I've become very interested in you, Naruto Uzumaki. The Jinchuriki who defeated an army, the boy with techniques that don't appear in any records. The student who terrifies his teachers by being too good, too fast, too. Other, what do you want? To see if you're worth my time. To test whether you're genuinely exceptional or just another talented child who will be consumed by this world's mediocrity. Orochimaru's hand moved in a blur, throwing kunai that curved mid-flight, impossible trajectory, chakra enhanced to move like living things. Naruto didn't dodge. Blood vein activated automatically, spiritual armor hardening his skin. The kunai struck and bounced, leaving barely a scratch. Orochimaru's eyes widened, genuine surprise. That's not a standard defensive technique. That's not chakra at all, is it? That's something else, something I've never encountered. Answer for answer, Naruto proposed. I tell you what I am. You tell me what you want. Fair, the Sannin's smile returned. I want Sasuke Uchiha, the last loyal Uchiha, a perfect vessel for, he stopped, reconsidered. But that's boring, isn't it? Every power-hungry villain wants the special bloodline boy. No, what I really want is to understand you, to dissect what makes you different, to learn if your power can be replicated, studied, weaponized. And if I refuse to be your research subject, then I'll take you by force. Or kill you to prevent others from having what I can't. Orochimaru shrugged. I'm flexible. Naruto felt it then, a strange sensation behind his eyes, pressure building, something awakening. The power that had been stirring since he was 6, growing stronger with each year, each challenge, each moment he pushed beyond human limitations. Kit, Kurama's voice was urgent. Something's happening. Your chakra is mixing with that spiritual energy you use. It's creating something new, something that feels old, ancient. The world slowed. Not literally, time still flowed normally. But Naruto's perception shifted, expanded, deepened. He saw not just Orochimaru standing before him, but Orochimaru as a collection of possibilities. Future movements branching like a tree. Potential attacks spreading out in ghostly afterimages. The Sannin would strike left, no, right, no, both simultaneously with hidden snakes. Naruto saw it, all of it, every possible next move. His eyes changed. The black deepened, became absolute, and for a fraction of a second they took on a strange quality, as if looking at them was looking into infinite depth. Fascinating, Orochimaru breathed, seeing the change. Your eyes. They're like the Rinnegan, but different. Not the same structure, not the same source. What are you, child? Something you can't have, Naruto replied, and his voice carried harmonics that shouldn't exist in a 12-year-old's throat. Something you can't understand, something that predates your ambitions and will outlast your failures. The Sannin attacked, truly attacked, with speed and technique that would overwhelm most Jonin. Snakes erupted from his sleeves, mouth, the earth itself. Hidden shadow snake hands multiplied and enhanced, each serpent venomous, each strike potentially lethal. Naruto saw every trajectory, every strike, every hidden fang. He moved through the attacks like water through stone, Hokage propelled by that strange new perception. His hands formed seals faster than Orochimaru could track, each one precise, perfect, guided by knowledge that bubbled up from nowhere. Quincy art licked region. The technique shouldn't exist. No hand seal sequence in any shinobi record matched what Naruto had used. But the result was undeniable. Arrows of pure Rizei materialized in the air, hundreds of them, each one precise, each one aimed at a different snake, and they rained down with divine precision. The snakes dispersed. Orochimaru leapt back, genuinely shocked. What was that? That wasn't ninjutsu. That wasn't even close to any technique I've ever— My turn, Naruto interrupted. He appeared in front of Orochimaru, true Hokage, moving faster than the Sannin could track, and his hand wrapped around Orochimaru's throat. Rizei threads spread from his fingers, binding, constricting, analyzing. For 3 seconds they stood frozen, predator and prey, but neither was sure which was which. Then Naruto saw it, not with his eyes but with that new perception. Branching futures spreading out from this moment. Paths where he killed Orochimaru here and destabilized the entire political landscape. Paths where he let him go and the Sannin became an asset. Paths where the fight continued and Sasuke died in the crossfire. Paths where too much, too fast. The visions overwhelmed him, billions of possibilities cascading through his mind in milliseconds. He gasped, released Orochimaru, stumbled back. The strange quality in his eyes faded. The perception collapsed. He was just Naruto again, 12 years old, breathing hard, feeling like he'd just tried to drink an ocean through a straw. What was that? Kurama demanded. Kit, what the hell just happened? I don't know. I saw everything, every possible future, every choice, every consequence. It was overwhelming, yes. Orochimaru stood 30 feet away, massaging his throat, eyes calculating. You had me. For 3 seconds you actually had me. One of the Sannin and a 12-year-old Genin had me helpless. Do you understand how impossible that is? I understand I let you go, Naruto said quietly. Because killing you would create more problems than it solved. Because you're more valuable alive and curious than dead and martyred. Because, he met Orochimaru's eyes directly, we might need each other eventually. Need each other, the Sannin laughed, genuine, surprised laughter. You think I'd work with a child? I think you're smart enough to recognize potential when it threatens to strangle you. I think you've already calculated that whatever I am, whatever I'm becoming, it's beyond your current understanding. And I think you're curious enough to want to learn more, even if it means temporary alliance with someone you'd prefer to dissect. Orochimaru was silent for a long moment, studying Naruto with newfound respect tinged with wariness. Then he smiled, genuine this time, not performative. You're right, damn you, but you're right, I am curious, desperately curious. He glanced at Sasuke, still flanked by his team. The Uchiha will have to wait. I have bigger fish to study. Don't study me like a specimen, Naruto warned. Partner with me like an equal or leave me alone entirely. Those are your only options. Bold words from someone who just collapsed from using his own power. Wise words from someone who knows his own limits and isn't ashamed to acknowledge them. Naruto straightened, forcing his breathing to steady. I'm still learning what I can do, still growing into this power, but I learn fast, Orochimaru, and next time we meet I'll be stronger, strong enough that you won't get away even if I want you to. Terrifying, but the Sannin's tone held admiration. Very well, Naruto Uzumaki, I'll leave you to your little exam, but I'll be watching, studying, and when you're ready, when you've grown into whatever you're becoming, we'll have a much longer conversation. He formed hand seals, complex, rapid, and his entire form began to dissolve into snakes. Oh, and one more thing, Orochimaru's voice echoed from multiple serpents. I'll still need to test the Uchiha, can't help myself, consider it, quality control. If Sasuke-kun is truly worthy of your team, he'll survive. If not, the snakes scattered into the underbrush. Well, that will be informative too. Then he was gone, leaving only disturbed earth and the faint scent of snake. Silence. Team 7 stood frozen, processing what had just happened. That, Sakura said finally, voice shaking slightly, was absolutely insane. You threatened a Sannin, Sasuke added, Sharingan still spinning frantically. You strangled a Sannin, you made a Sannin retreat. What the actual hell, Naruto? I saw something, Naruto admitted, sitting down hard on a tree root. For just a moment my eyes changed, I could see futures, plural. Every possible action and reaction spreading out like branches. I saw the path where I killed him, where I let him go, where we fought until you both died. I saw thousands of possibilities in seconds. That's not possible, Sakura whispered. That's the kind of power that shouldn't exist. But it does, in me, apparently. Naruto looked at his hands, still faintly trembling from the strain. And it's getting stronger. Every time I push, every time I'm threatened, it grows. Like something inside me is waking up piece by piece. Kit, Kurama said, voice grave. You just tapped into something that predates the Sage of Six Paths. I felt it. That wasn't just spiritual energy. That was. I don't have words for what that was, but it was old, ancient, like touching the bones of reality itself. What am I, Kurama? I don't know, but I'm starting to suspect you're not just a reincarnation. You're something that got reborn into human form, something that existed before the current world order, something that might be powerful enough to reshape everything. That's terrifying. Good, fear will keep you careful. Arrogance would get you killed even with that power. Naruto stood, forcing his legs to steady. We need to move. Orochimaru's not the only threat here, and I just used a lot of energy. We're vulnerable until I recover. Can you move? Sasuke asked, genuine concern breaking through his usual stoicism. I can manage. Sakura, take point. Sasuke, rear guard. I'll coordinate from center position. Naruto activated their mental link fully, feeding them tactical data despite his exhaustion. And both of you, what you saw here stays between us. No one else can know about those eyes. Not yet. What about Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked. Especially not Kakashi. He'd report to the Hokage, and then I'd spend the rest of my life in a lab or under surveillance so tight I couldn't breathe. Naruto started walking, team falling into formation around him. I need time to understand this power, to master it, to ensure when I do reveal it, I'm too valuable to lock away and too dangerous to attack. They moved through the forest, and Team 7's dynamic had shifted again. It wasn't just student and teammates anymore. It was something else. A king and his chosen guards, perhaps, or a prophet and his first believers. or simply three broken children who decided that together they could rewrite the rules entirely. Whatever it was, it worked. They navigated deeper into the forest of death, avoiding teams when possible, eliminating threats when necessary. Naruto recovered slowly, his strange stamina allowing him to function despite the spiritual drain. Sasuke and Sakura adapted to his weakened state, compensating, protecting, proving they were more than just recipients of his strategies, they were genuine partners. Hours passed. The sun began to set, painting the forest in shades of blood and shadow. That's when they found her. Forest of Death, dusk near the tower, the team from grass lay scattered across a clearing, unconscious or dead. It was hard to tell from a distance. And standing over them, sand swirling in a crimson cloud, was Gaara. His siblings watched from the tree line, faces pale, clearly afraid of their own brother. Gaara's eyes locked on Naruto's team as they entered the clearing. The madness in those pale green eyes was visible even at 50 feet. "More prey," he whispered, but his voice carried perfectly in the unnatural silence. "More blood to prove I exist." "We're not prey," Naruto said calmly, stepping forward despite Sasuke's warning grip on his shoulder. "And you're not a hunter, you're just scared and alone, lashing out because it's the only language you know." The sand writhed faster, responding to Gaara's spike of emotion. "You know nothing about me. I know everything about you. You're a Jinchuriki, one-tails, probably, sealed at birth, used as a weapon, feared by your own village. Everyone looks at you and sees a monster, so you decided to become one. Because if they're going to fear you anyway, you might as well give them a reason." "Naruto," Sakura hissed through their link, "what are you doing? What I do best, recruiting." Gaara was silent, sand hovering mid-strike, trembling with barely contained violence. "You're lonely," Naruto continued, walking closer, ignoring the danger. "You've never known real connection. Your demon hates you, fights you, drives you toward madness. You think the only way to prove you exist is through violence, through death, through making others feel the pain you carry every day." "Stop." "No, because I understand. I'm the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. I've lived with a demon in my gut since birth. I know what it's like to be feared, hated, treated as less than human. The difference between us," Naruto stopped 10 feet away, well within kill range. "I chose a different path. I made peace with my demon, and now instead of fighting alone, I fight with allies, people who see past the monster to the person beneath." Gaara's sand hesitated, coiling uncertainly. "You're lying. No one sees past it. Everyone looks at me and sees death." "I don't." Naruto's black eyes met Gaara's pale green ones. "I see a weapon that decided its own purpose. I see potential being wasted on fear and isolation. I see someone who could be extraordinary if given the chance." "Why?" Gaara's voice cracked, the first genuine emotion breaking through the madness. "Why would you care?" "Because I'm building something. A new order where people like us aren't weapons or monsters. We're leaders, protectors, kings in our own right." Naruto extended his hand, palm up, offering, "Join me, not now, not today, but eventually. When you're ready to be something more than just a killer, I'll be waiting." Gaara stared at the offered hand like it was a foreign object. His siblings watched in shock. Team 7 held their breath. Then, slowly, the sand retreated. Coiled back around Gaara's body, forming his protective shell again. "You're insane," Gaara said softly, "offering friendship to a monster." "I'm insane," Naruto agreed, lowering his hand. "But I'm also right. You'll figure that out eventually." He turned to leave, team following, walking away from one of the most dangerous genin in the exams with his back exposed. Gaara didn't attack. Instead, he whispered, so quietly only Naruto's enhanced senses caught it, "Thank you." They reached the tower 3 hours later, Earth Scroll acquired from a team that had ambushed them and learned very quickly why that was a mistake. The interior was quiet, other teams scattered around, recovering from their ordeals. Team 7 claimed a corner, setting up camp for the night. They had 2 days remaining before the exam ended, but they were among the first to arrive. As the others slept, Naruto sat awake, watching the moonlight through high windows, replaying the day's events in his mind. The power that had awakened. The vision of branching futures. The sensation of looking at time itself and seeing it as something fluid, changeable, subject to his will. The Almighty. He didn't know where the name came from, but it felt right, felt true. It had been just a glimpse, a fraction of what the power could eventually become. But even that fraction had let him see Orochimaru's attacks before they happened, had shown him how to manipulate the Sanin's curiosity instead of just fighting. With time, with training, with mastery, what would he become? A god, part of him whispered, or a monster? Maybe both. "Kit," Kurama said softly. "Sleep, you need rest. Tomorrow will bring more challenges, I know I'm scared, Kurama, scared of what I'm becoming, scared that one day I'll look in a mirror and not recognize myself. Then keep people like your team close. Keep that weapon girl who makes you laugh. Keep your humanity tethered to those who see you as more than power. The fox's voice was surprisingly gentle. You're not alone in this, brat, not anymore. Naruto smiled, closed his eyes, and let sleep take him. Tomorrow would bring the next stage of the exams. More challenges, more threats, more opportunities to grow, but tonight he could rest. Tonight he could simply be Naruto, the boy with too much power and too little understanding, trying his best not to lose himself in the process of becoming something greater. It would have to be enough. Forest of Death Tower interior final day of second exam. Naruto woke to the sensation of something fundamental shifting inside him. Not painful, more like a puzzle piece finally sliding into place, a lock opening, a door swinging wide to reveal rooms he'd never known existed. His eyes opened in the pre-dawn darkness, and for a moment he saw the world differently. Not the branching futures of the Almighty, that power was still dormant, waiting, but something else. Something equally profound. He saw his teammates sleeping nearby, and around them, faint threads of light connected them to him. Spiritual connections formed through months of coordination, trust, and shared experience. The mental communication network he'd created was more than just a technique, it was a genuine bond, linking their souls in ways he'd never fully comprehended. And those bonds could be strengthened, enhanced, made permanent. Kurama, he thought, sitting up slowly, I'm sensing something about the team, about our connection. I feel it too, Kit. Your spiritual energy is resonating with theirs, creating pathways. It's like you're forming a pack bond, but deeper, more fundamental. The fox's voice held curiosity. Whatever you're becoming has mechanisms for sharing power, distributing strength among chosen followers. Is that what they are, followers? That's what you need to decide. Are they subordinates or partners? Because what you're contemplating, binding their souls to yours, is permanent. No going back. Their strength becomes yours. Your death becomes theirs. Naruto looked at Sasuke, features relaxed in sleep, the burden of vengeance temporarily lifted. Then at Sakura, brilliant mind finally engaged with the world instead of hiding behind infatuation. His team, his friends, the first people who'd chosen to stand beside him knowing what he was. Partners, he decided, equals who trust me to lead but aren't slaves to my will. Then you'd better figure out how to do this properly. Because if you mess up soul binding, the consequences are catastrophic. Naruto spent the next hour in meditation, exploring this new awareness. The bonds connecting him to his team weren't just energy, they were conduits. Pathways through which power could flow both directions. He could strengthen them, yes, but also empower them. Give them fragments of what he was becoming. Letters. The thought appeared fully formed, knowledge bubbling up from that ancient place inside him. Each person would receive a letter, a shrift, representing an aspect of their nature enhanced by his power. Not random assignments, but careful selection based on who they truly were. Sasuke would need something that enhanced his already formidable abilities while addressing his weaknesses. Sakura required power that complemented her analytical mind and growing medical skills. And Kakashi. He'd have to include Kakashi. The Jonin was too integrated into their team dynamic, too valuable as a tactical mind, too important to leave unconnected. But this was dangerous. What he was contemplating went beyond any jutsu or technique. He would be fundamentally altering them on a spiritual level, making them more, but also binding them to his fate irrevocably. Was he willing to carry that responsibility? Yes, he decided, because they're already at risk following me. At least this way, I can give them the power to survive what's coming. Tower Central Arena. Later that morning, the remaining teams gathered in the massive central chamber, numbers culled dramatically. Of the 26 teams that had entered, only 8 remained. Team 7 stood together, Naruto's eyes tracking each survivor, calculating threats, potential alliances, weaknesses to exploit. Gaara was there, siblings flanking him, sand still swirling slowly. His eyes found Naruto's, held them for a moment. Something had changed in that pale green gaze, not sanity, not quite, but perhaps the first seeds of it. Recognition that he wasn't as alone as he'd believed. Team from Sound, different members than Orochimaru's disguised team. These were genuine genin, but wrong somehow. Their chakra felt artificial, enhanced through methods that made Naruto's spiritual senses recoil. A Konoha team led by Neji Hyuga, the boy with the caged bird seal and eyes that saw everything. Beside him, Rock Lee bounced with barely contained energy, and Tenten caught his eye and smiled, small and private. She'd made it through, good. Other teams from various villages, all looking exhausted, wounded, traumatized by 5 days in hell. Hiruzen stood at the front, flanked by other village jonin, and began explaining the next phase. But Naruto barely listened. He was focused on the feeling growing inside him, the certainty that today, before these preliminary matches began, he needed to complete what he'd started. Sasuke, Sakura, he projected through their link. After the Hokage finishes talking, I need to speak with you both. Privately, something important. What's wrong? Sakura's concern was immediate. Nothing wrong, everything right. I've discovered something, a way to make us stronger, but it requires trust, complete trust. Sasuke's mental presence sharpened. I'm listening. The Hokage finished his speech. Preliminaries would be held immediately to reduce numbers further before the final tournament in 1 month. Individual matches, random selection, fight until one side surrenders or can't continue. A screen lit up on the wall, electronic display flickering through names randomly. Match 1, SASKHAYOOCHEHAVs. YOHROHE aka Dio. Sasuke's expression didn't change, but Naruto felt his spike of anticipation through their link. Finally, a chance to prove himself individually, without coordinating through the team. Wait, Naruto said quietly, hand on Sasuke's shoulder. Before you go down there, give me 2 minutes. Naruto, the match, 2 minutes, trust me. They moved to a side corridor away from observers. Kakashi followed, sensing something significant. Sakura came too, face curious and concerned in equal measure. Naruto looked at his 3 teammates, the people who'd stood by him, trusted him, followed him into danger repeatedly, and made his decision. I'm going to offer you something, he said quietly. A power beyond normal techniques, beyond bloodline limits or training, something that will fundamentally change you on a spiritual level. What kind of power? Kakashi asked, visible eye sharp. Mine, fragments of what I am, distributed through soul bonds that already exist between us. Naruto met each of their eyes in turn. I've discovered I can share pieces of my abilities. Give you access to strength you'd never reach alone, but it comes with a cost. What cost? Sasuke demanded. Connection, permanent connection. Your souls will be bound to mine. If too many of you die, I die. If I die, he paused. Actually, I don't know what happens to you if I die. This is new territory. That's insane, Sakura whispered. Soul binding, that's forbidden jutsu level stuff. That's necessary. Naruto's voice was firm. You saw what I faced in the forest. Orochimaru, one of the Sannin, and I barely held him off. What's coming is worse. Wars are brewing. Akatsuki is active. Threats that will make the forest of death look like a training exercise. I need you to be stronger, and you need the power to survive standing beside me. Kakashi was silent for a long moment. What exactly would we receive? Letters, shrifts, unique abilities based on who you are, enhanced by what I am. Sasuke would receive something that amplifies his natural talents. Sakura would gain abilities suited to her analytical mind. You Sensei would receive power that enhances your already formidable tactical abilities. And if we refuse, Sasuke asked, though his tone suggested he already knew his answer. Then nothing changes, we continue as we are. You're still my team, still my friends, but you'd be limited to normal growth, normal progression. And honestly, Naruto's expression was grave. I'm not sure normal will be enough for what's coming. Sakura looked at Sasuke, then Kakashi, then back to Naruto. Would it hurt? I don't know, probably. Power always has a price. Naruto's honesty was complete. But I'll be with you through it, we'll face whatever comes together. I'm in, Sasuke said immediately. I need power, any power. If it helps me get stronger, helps me eventually face Itachi, I'll take it. That's not the right reason, Naruto said sharply. This isn't about revenge. This is about becoming something greater than what we were, about trust and partnership, not just acquisition of strength. Then consider it both. Sasuke's sharing and activated. I trust you, Naruto. I wouldn't follow you otherwise, and I want the power. Give me both. Naruto turned to Sakura. What about you? She was quiet, thinking, processing. Her brilliant mind working through implications, consequences, possibilities. If I refuse, would it affect our team dynamic? Would you resent? No, never. This is your choice. Then, yes, because you're right, normal won't be enough. I've felt it these past months. The world is changing, accelerating towards something catastrophic. And I'd rather face it with power than watch helplessly from the sidelines. She smiled, nervous but determined. Besides, someone needs to study these abilities from the inside, for science. Kakashi sighed deeply. You're asking me to trust a 12-year-old with my soul. Do you understand how insane that sounds? I do. Good, because I must be insane too. The Jonin pulled down his mask, showing his full face for the first time, a gesture of complete trust. I've watched you for months, studied you, feared you honestly. But I've also seen you choose mercy over violence, protection over dominance. You're dangerous, Naruto Uzumaki. But you're dangerous in ways that might actually save this broken world. So yes, do it. Naruto felt something warm bloom in his chest, gratitude, affection, the weight of responsibility accepted. Thank you, all of you. I won't betray this trust. He raised his hands, fingers glowing with barely visible risy threads. This might feel strange, like something foreign entering your body. Don't fight it. Let it flow through you, find its place. Your souls will recognize what to do. He pressed his palm against Sasuke's chest first. The reaction was immediate. Sasuke gasped, Sharingan spinning wildly as spiritual energy flooded into him through the bond they shared. Naruto felt the connection deepen, strengthen, become something unbreakable. And then, knowledge ancient, absolute, provided the perfect letter for his friend. The supremacy, Naruto whispered, and the word seemed to echo with power. The ability to adapt, overcome, and transcend limitations. Your Sharingan will evolve faster. Your body will learn from every injury, every challenge, becoming stronger through adversity. You'll develop immunity to techniques used against you, and your natural talents will be enhanced beyond bloodline limitations. Sasuke fell to his knees, breathing hard, eyes wide. Black marks spread across his skin for a moment, not a curse seal, but patterns of spiritual energy finding its home, then faded. When he stood, he looked the same but felt different, more solid, more real. That was, he couldn't find words, just the beginning. It'll take time to master. Naruto turned to Sakura. Ready? She nodded, stepped forward. Naruto's palm pressed against her forehead and risy flowed. See the compulsion? He intoned. Control over biological systems, chakra networks, cellular processes. You'll be able to manipulate bodies at their most fundamental level, healing wounds by commanding cells to regenerate, disrupting enemy chakra by rewriting their network patterns, enhancing your own physical capabilities by optimizing every system. The perfect power for someone who thinks in systems and patterns. Sakura's eyes rolled back briefly, and for a moment, Naruto felt her consciousness merge with his, felt her brilliant mind racing through possibilities, understanding flooding through her like light through crystal. Then she returned to herself, gasping, I can feel it, every cell in my body, I can see the chakra network like never before, tears streamed down her face. This is what I was meant to be, finally, Kakashi. The Jonin stood ready, both eyes visible, Sharingan and normal eye together. Naruto hesitated. This one is different, more powerful, because you're already powerful, already evolved. The Shrift will interact with your Sharingan in ways I can't predict. Do it anyway, palm to forehead, risy flowing. And this one felt different, heavier, more complex because Kakashi was Jonin level, his soul more developed, his chakra more refined. The visionary, Naruto breathed. Enhanced tactical precognition, strategic analysis beyond genius level, and the ability to manifest imagination into temporary reality. Your Sharingan's copying ability will merge with this power, allowing you not just to see techniques, but to envision counters before they're needed. You'll see battles before they're fought, victories before they're won. Kakashi staggered, caught himself against the wall. His Sharingan spun so fast it was nearly a blur, and his normal eye changed. Just for a moment, it showed the same pattern as his Sharingan, a ghost image of possibility. Then it returned to normal but different. Enhanced Kakashi-sensei, Sakura asked, concerned. I'm fine, better than fine. I can see, he looked at his hands, at the corridor, at his students, everything. Every angle, every possibility, every tactical application. It's like my mind has been set free. The four of them stood in the corridor, fundamentally changed, spiritually bound, no longer just teacher and students but something new, something the world had never seen. Well, Kurama rumbled, impressed despite himself. You did it, created your first Sternritter. Now let's hope you can keep them alive long enough to see what they become. That's the plan. Plans rarely survive contact with reality, Kit. Then it's good I can see multiple futures now, isn't it? The fox's laughter echoed through his mindscape. Team 7, Kakashi said, voice steady despite the fundamental changes he'd just experienced. We need to keep this secret. No one can know what just happened. Not the Hokage, not the other Jonin, no one. Understood? Agreed, Naruto said. These abilities will manifest gradually. will claim their advanced training techniques, bloodline evolution, anything but the truth. The world isn't ready to know what we've become. What have we become? Sasuke asked quietly. The first, Naruto replied. The foundation of something new, but what that something becomes, that's up to all of us. An announcement echoed through the corridors. Sasuke Uchiha report to the arena floor. Match begins in 2 minutes. Sasuke looked at his hands, feeling the new power flowing through him. Well, let's see what the supremacy can do. They returned to the main arena. Sasuke descended to the floor where his opponent waited, a sound nin who looked confident, experienced, dangerous. The match began, and Team 7 watched as Sasuke Uchiha, newly empowered with a shrift from powers beyond normal comprehension, demonstrated exactly what it meant to transcend human limitation. Arena floor Sasuke vs. Yoroi Akado was a specialist in chakra absorption, touch-based technique that drained opponents while empowering himself. He defeated multiple teams in the forest through this simple but effective strategy. He expected a standard fight. Uchiha fire jutsu, maybe some taijutsu, eventually wearing down until he could make contact and drain the prodigy dry. What he got was something entirely different. Sasuke moved with new precision, each step calculated not just by sharing and prediction but by instinct enhanced through the supremacy. His body felt lighter, faster, more responsive. Like he'd been moving through water his whole life and suddenly discovered air. Yoroi lunged, hand reaching to make contact. Sasuke didn't just dodge, he adapted mid-movement, his body already learning the attack pattern, his neural pathways rewiring to counter this specific threat. The second lunge was easier to avoid, the third easier still. By the fourth attempt, Sasuke could predict Yoroi's movements before the sound nin committed to them. Stay still, Yoroi snarled, frustrated. Make me, Sasuke replied, and his Sharingan spun, 3 Tomo already, though he'd only had 2 before the shrift. The power was accelerating his bloodline evolution. Fire-style jutsu erupted from his mouth, but enhanced, refined. The chakra control was perfect, the technique execution flawless. Yoroi barely dodged, rolling away with singed clothes. This is incredible, Sasuke thought, marveling at his own capabilities. Every movement teaches me something new, every attack makes me stronger. He could feel the shrift working, analyzing, adapting. His body was becoming a weapon that improved with every second of combat. Yoroi made one final desperate lunge, hand glowing with chakra-draining technique. Sasuke caught his wrist mid-strike, and nothing happened. Yoroi's eyes widened in shock. What my technique, already adapted to it, Sasuke said calmly. The supremacy grants immunity to techniques I've experienced. You touched me 4 times during our exchanges, each brief contact giving me data. Now your chakra drain is useless against me. He spun Yoroi around, drove an enhanced elbow into the solar plexus, and the sound nin dropped like a stone. Winner, Sasuke Uchiha, the crowd erupted in cheers. Sasuke returned to the observation deck where his team waited, face carefully neutral but eyes blazing with excitement. That power, he said quietly, rejoining them, it's extraordinary. I could feel myself adapting in real time. Learning from every attack, every movement, this is just the beginning, Naruto finished. Wait until you've had time to truly master it. More matches followed. Lee faced someone from Sound and devastated them with pure taijutsu, no shrift needed, just determination and training that bordered on superhuman. Tenten fought and won through clever weapons work and tactical thinking, making Naruto smile with pride. Neji demolished his opponent with gentle fist technique that shut down chakra systems with cruel efficiency. Then, Match 7. Sahko ora Haruno vs. Ino Yameh Nakah Sakura descended to the arena floor, facing her childhood friend turned rival. Ino stood ready, confident, expecting the same hesitant girl she'd competed with at the academy. She had no idea what Sakura had become. Ready to lose to me again? Ino called out, smiling. Sakura smiled back, but there was something different in her expression. Confidence, knowledge, power. Actually, Ino, I was hoping we could make this interesting, a real test of abilities. The match began. Ino opened with mind transfer jutsu, her signature technique, attempting to invade Sakura's consciousness. The spiritual projection shot forward, invisible to most but clear as day to Sakura's enhanced perception. She could see it, could see the chakra construct heading for her, could see its structure, its weaknesses, its path. She reached out not physically but spiritually and grasped the technique mid-flight. See the compulsion, she whispered, and her power activated. The mind transfer technique twisted, altered, reversed direction. Ino gasped as her own jutsu rebounded, but Sakura didn't send it back to attack. Instead, she modified it, made it harmless, let it dissipate safely. What did you do? Ino demanded, shocked. Took control of your chakra construct, rewrote its parameters, dispersed it safely. Sakura stepped forward. I don't want to hurt you, Ino, but I need you to understand I'm not the same girl I was. None of us are. She moved with enhanced speed, not as fast as Naruto's Hokage, but faster than any normal genin, and tagged Ino with a fingertip. The compulsion activated fully. Sakura could feel Ino's entire system, chakra network, nervous system, muscle fibers, everything. With a thought, she could shut down any part of it, could paralyze her, could stop her heart. Could also heal her, enhance her, make her stronger. She chose mercy, disrupted only Ino's motor control, making her legs give out. Ino collapsed, unhurt but unable to move. I can't. It's temporary. 5 minutes, then full recovery. No damage, just demonstrating capability. Sakura offered her hand. I'm sorry, I know this isn't the fight you wanted, but I needed to test my new abilities against someone I trust not to kill me if things went wrong. Understanding dawned in Ino's eyes. You've changed, all of you, Team 7. What happened to you? We evolved, adapted, became what we needed to be. Sakura helped her friend up as the effect wore off, and honestly, I hope everyone does the same. Because what's coming will require all of us at our best. Winner, Sakura Haruno. The matches continued through the afternoon. Rock Lee put on a spectacular show against a Sand Nin before losing to exhaustion. Gaara fought and won through overwhelming sand defense, though Naruto noted the Jinchuriki's movements were slightly less aggressive than before. Their conversation in the forest had planted seeds. Finally, match 12. Naruto h Oozumekivs. Keiba Eno Ozukeh Naruto descended to the arena floor, facing the boy with the dog companion. Kiba looked confident, grinning, clearly believing his speed and Akamaru's support would overwhelm the strange Uzumaki. Ready to lose? Kiba called out. No, Naruto said simply. But I'm ready to teach. The match began. Kiba and Akamaru merged into their combined form, fang over fang, spinning toward Naruto like a drill of claws and fangs. Naruto stood still, eyes closed, not moving. Now he thought and activated the Proto Almighty for just a split second. The world split into branching futures. He saw Kiba's attack trajectory, saw every possible dodge, every counter, every outcome. Selected the optimal path and stepped into it. He appeared 5 feet to the left, exactly where he needed to be. Kiba's attack missed by inches, drilling into empty air. What? How did you? Naruto opened his eyes, and for just a moment they showed that infinite depth again. I saw where you'd be, where you wouldn't be, where I needed to be to make you miss. He didn't attack, didn't need to. Just stood there, untouchable, demonstrating a power that went beyond speed or strength into something more fundamental. Kiba attacked again. And again. Each time, Naruto was already moving before the attack came, already positioned where it couldn't reach him. This is impossible, Kiba panted, exhausted from his own aggression. It's inevitable, Naruto corrected gently. Every attack you make, I've already seen. Every strategy you might employ, I've already countered. Not because I'm faster or stronger, though I am, but because I operate on a different level of perception. He walked forward, and Kiba actually backed away, intimidated despite being larger, older, theoretically more experienced. I'm not going to hurt you, Naruto said, but I am going to give you a choice. Forfeit now, train harder, come back stronger in a month, or continue fighting and I'll have to disable you to end the match. Your choice, Kiba looked at Akamaru. The dog whined, clearly sensing something wrong about Naruto, some predator instinct recognizing an apex hunter. I forfeit, Kiba said quietly. Then louder, Proctor. I forfeit, winner by forfeit, Naruto Uzumaki. As Naruto returned to his team, he felt the eyes of every jonin in the room tracking him. Kakashi, Asuma, Kurenai, Guy, all the instructors looked troubled, calculating, trying to understand what they'd just witnessed. In the Kage box, Hiruzen sat forward, pipe forgotten. He didn't even fight, just stood there and knew how. I don't know, Hokage-sama, the Chenbu beside him responded. But whatever that boy is becoming, it's beyond our normal classifications. The preliminaries concluded. 10 genin would advance to the finals in 1 month. Sasuke Uchiha Sakura Haruno Naruto Uzumaki Neji Hyuga Gaara of the desert Shikamaru Narate Mari of the desert Kankuro of the desert Shino Aburame Dasukinuta. Sound. As the finalists dispersed to begin their month of training, Naruto gathered his team once more in a private room. 1 month, he said, to master your shrifts. To prepare for what the finals will really be, not just tests of strength, but a stage for the entire ninja world. Invasions are coming, wars are brewing. And we need to be ready. How do you know invasions are coming? Sakura asked. Naruto's eyes flickered with that strange depth. Because I've seen it. Multiple futures where sound and sand attack during the finals. Where Orochimaru makes his move, where people die and villages burn, we're going to prevent that, or at least minimize the damage. You're talking about changing fate, Kakashi said slowly. That's what I do, Naruto finished. The Almighty, the power in my eyes, lets me see possible futures, choose which ones become real. It's still developing, still limited. But it's enough to give us an edge. Then let's use that edge, Sasuke said. 1 month, we train until we're ready for anything. They separated, each to their own training, each to master powers that shouldn't exist. And in his apartment that night, Naruto sat with Kurama and contemplated what he'd done. I've created 3 Sternritter, bound their souls to mine, given them power that makes them targets for anyone who figures out what they are. You've also given them the ability to survive what's coming, Kurama countered. And you've proven you can share your power without losing yourself. That's important, Kit. It means you're not just accumulating strength, you're building an army. Not an army, a family. Same thing when you think about it. Both fight together, both die together. But only one does it by choice. The fox was silent, perhaps recognizing truth in that distinction. Naruto looked out at Konoha's lights, at the village that feared and celebrated him in equal measure, and planned. 1 month until the finals. 1 month to master the Almighty. 1 month to prepare for the invasion he'd seen coming in 1,000 different futures. 1 month to become something the world had never seen before. He smiled in the darkness. The game was accelerating. And he was very, very good at games. 1 week into training month, Konoha's secret training ground, the training ground was isolated, hidden behind layers of genjutsu and Chenbu patrols, one of Konoha's most secure locations, normally reserved for S-rank techniques and forbidden jutsu development. Hiruzen had granted Team 7 exclusive access, partly because they'd requested it, mostly because he wanted them contained where they could be observed. What the observation teams reported back made the Hokage lose sleep. Sasuke stood in the center of the field, facing 3 Jonin-level training dummies simultaneously. His Sharingan spun constantly now, 3 Tamo in each eye, and around him, the air seemed to shimmer with potential energy. The supremacy was evolving faster than anyone expected. He moved through the exercise with fluid precision, dodge, counter, adapt. Each dummy attacked with different patterns, different techniques. The first time through, he struggled. The second time, he managed. The third time, he dominated. By the 10th iteration, the dummies couldn't touch him. It's accelerating, Kakashi observed from the sidelines, visionary active, analyzing every micro-movement. His adaptation rate is increasing exponentially. At this pace, within 2 weeks he'll be immune to most standard Jonin techniques. Is that safe? Sakura asked, taking notes in her medical journal. Her compulsion senses were active, feeling the changes in Sasuke's cellular structure, the way his body was literally rewiring itself to accommodate the shrift. Safe? No. Necessary. Yes, Naruto watched his friend with something between pride and concern. The supremacy makes him stronger through challenge. The more he's pushed, the faster he grows. But there's a cost. Look at his chakra network. Sakura focused, seeing what Naruto indicated. Sasuke's chakra pathways were expanding, reinforcing, but also showing stress. He's burning through reserves faster. The adaptation requires energy, which means he needs to develop larger reserves or more efficient utilization. Naruto's analytical mind was already working through solutions. We'll need to adjust his training, more emphasis on chakra control, less on pure combat repetition. Sasuke, he projected through their mental link. Take a break, you're pushing too hard. I can go longer, Sasuke responded, but his mental voice carried exhaustion. You can, but should you? The shrift enhances you, but it's not limitless. You need to learn your boundaries before you can exceed them. Reluctantly, Sasuke stopped, dismissing the training dummies. He walked over to his team, breathing hard but grinning. Did you see that? By the end, I was predicting their attacks 3 moves ahead. The supremacy is incredible. It's also burning you out, Sakura said, medical nin instincts kicking in. She pressed her palm to his chest, compulsion activating. Your chakra network is strained. Another hour of that intensity and you'd have suffered permanent damage. I can feel it though, the adaptation. Every cell in my body is changing, becoming more efficient. If I push through the strain, you'll cripple yourself, Kakashi interrupted sharply. The visionary shows me 17 different futures where you overtrain and end up in the hospital. Power without wisdom is just self-destruction. Sasuke, pace yourself. The Uchiha looked rebellious for a moment, then nodded. The Shrift bond meant he could feel Naruto's concern, Sakura's worry, Kakashi's genuine fear for his well-being. Hard to maintain stubborn independence when your soul was literally connected to people who cared. Fine, I'll rest. Sasuke sat down heavily, but we only have 3 weeks left. 3 weeks to master these abilities before the finals, before whatever invasion Naruto keeps hinting at. Every minute wasted isn't wasted if it keeps you functional, Naruto said firmly. You're not alone in this, Sasuke. We're all training, all improving. Trust the process. Movement at the training ground entrance drew everyone's attention. 2 figures emerged from the tree line, one massive with a huge blade, one smaller with a mask. Zabuza and Haku. Well, Zabuza called out, grinning. Look at the little genin playing with powers they don't understand. How adorable. Zabuza-san, Naruto greeted, standing. How's the integration going? Terrible, wonderful, complicated. The missing nin stopped a respectful distance away, Kubikirabacho resting on his shoulder. Your village accepted us barely. We're on probation, monitored constantly, and about half the ninja want us dead. But we're free, we're together, and we're not running anymore. So, thanks, kid. Don't thank me yet. You haven't heard my real offer. Zabuza's eyes narrowed. What offer? The same one I gave Team 7. Naruto's expression was serious. A shrift, a letter of power. Soul binding to my abilities, granting you access to strength beyond what you'd achieve alone. In exchange for permanent loyalty, permanent connection, and the risk that my death means yours. Silence. Haku's mask turned toward Zabuza, clearly seeking guidance. You want to bind our souls to yours, Zabuza said slowly. Make us part of your army, your cult. My family, Naruto corrected. I'm building something, Zabuza. A new order where power is shared, where loyalty is rewarded, where people like us, the broken, the feared, the different, can stand together instead of alone. The Shrifts are how I make that vision real. And if we refuse, then you remain Konoha Nin on probation, still allies, still valuable, still trusted, but limited to your own growth, your own power ceiling. The offer isn't a threat, it's an opportunity, one I'm extending because I believe in your potential. Zabuza looked at Team 7, seeing their enhanced capabilities, their coordinated movements, the way they communicated without words. Then at Haku, his most precious person, the boy he'd raised as a tool but loved as a son. What would we get? What letters would fit us? Naruto's eyes flickered with that infinite depth, the Almighty activating briefly to see the optimal shrifts for each. Knowledge bubbled up from that ancient place inside him, certainty about what letters would suit them best. For you, Zabuza, Z the Zenith. Peak combat capability, absolute mastery over any blade, and the ability to push your techniques to their theoretical maximum. You're already a master of silent killing, this would make you the perfect embodiment of that art. Zabuza's grip tightened on Kubikirabacho, that power, that would make him truly legendary. And Haku. H, the harmony. Enhanced synchronization with others, the ability to create perfect coordination between allies, and advanced elemental manipulation that goes beyond your ice release. You become the ultimate support fighter, making everyone around you stronger while maintaining your own deadly capabilities. Haku was quiet for a moment, then removed his mask. The beautiful, androgynous face beneath showed tears. A power about helping others, about making people stronger together, that's what I've always wanted, to be useful, to support those I care about. Then accept it, Naruto said gently. Both of you join us properly. Become the foundation of something greater than any single village or alliance. Help me build a world where strength protects instead of destroys. Zabuza looked at Haku, at the hope in those eyes, and made his decision. You're insane. Completely, utterly insane, he grinned. When do we start? Same day evening, Naruto's apartment. The apartment was small, sparse, but currently packed. Team 7 sat in a circle with Zabuza and Haku, all of them radiating various levels of power and exhaustion. Naruto had performed the binding ritual twice more, distributing shrifts with the same careful precision he'd used on his team. Watching Zabuza receive the zenith was like watching a blade being reforged. The missing nin's entire presence sharpened, focused, became more lethal. Haku's transformation with the harmony was gentler but no less profound, the boy's naturally supportive nature enhanced to supernatural levels. So now we're 6, Sakura said, looking around the circle. 6 people bound to Naruto's soul carrying fragments of his power. What does that make us? The Sternritter, Naruto said, and the word felt right. Ancient, true, the Star Knights. Those who carry letters of power and serve a greater purpose. Dramatic, Zabuza muttered, but his tone held approval. I like it, makes us sound properly terrifying. We need to be terrifying, Kakashi said, visionary showing him branching tactical possibilities. Because what we're facing is worse than most people realize. Naruto, you've mentioned an invasion multiple times, tell us everything. Naruto took a deep breath. During my encounter with Orochimaru in the forest, the Almighty awakened briefly. I saw futures, thousands of them. In most, Sound and Sand attack during the Chunin exam finals. Orochimaru kills the Kazekage, might have already killed him and replaced him with a disguise. During the finals, they strike. Summons attack the village. Ninja die, buildings burn, and in the worst timelines. What happens in the worst timelines? Sakura asked quietly. The third Hokage dies fighting Orochimaru, the village is weakened. Other nations see opportunity. Within a year, the fourth Great Ninja War begins. Within 3 years, the Akatsuki makes their move. Within 5 years, civilization as we know it collapses. The silence was absolute. Can we prevent it? Haku asked. With your Almighty, can you change those futures? I can influence them, guide events toward better outcomes, but I can't control everything, too many variables, too many actors with their own wills and powers. What I can do is prepare. Make sure when the attack comes we're ready, make sure the right people survive, make sure the dominoes fall in directions that lead to stability instead of chaos. Then tell us what to do, Sasuke said, supremacy making him eager for action. How do we prepare? We train, we coordinate, we identify key moments where intervention matters most. Naruto pulled out a map of Konoha, began marking locations. The attack will come from multiple directions. Summons here, here, and here. Assassination squads targeting key infrastructure, and Orochimaru himself will focus on the Hokage. We protect the Hokage, Kakashi said immediately. That's the priority, yes and no. Naruto's expression was complicated. In some futures, the third dies heroically, inspires the next generation, and Konoha emerges stronger from unified grief. In others, he survives but remains in power and the village stagnates. I need to decide which future serves our long-term goals better. You're talking about letting him die, Sakura said, horrified. Deliberately choosing a future where the Hokage dies. I'm talking about weighing outcomes, Naruto corrected, though his voice carried strain. I don't want him to die, he's been kind to me, protective. But I also see what happens if Konoha doesn't change leadership, the wars that come, the missed opportunities, the slow decline. Sometimes the painful choice is the right choice. That's playing God, Zabuza observed. Deciding who lives and dies based on predicted outcomes. I know, and I hate it. Naruto looked at his hands, at the power flowing through them. This is what the Almighty means, not just seeing futures but choosing them. Accepting responsibility for every choice, every consequence. It's the most powerful ability I have and the one I fear most. Kurama stirred in his mindscape. Good, fear will keep you honest. The moment you start choosing without hesitation, without guilt, is the moment you become the monster everyone fears. Then I'll carry the guilt, Naruto said aloud, to his team and his demon both. I'll make the hard choices, bear the weight of consequences, and live with the knowledge that every decision leads to suffering somewhere. But I'll do it anyway, because the alternative, doing nothing, letting fate play out randomly, would be worse. The team absorbed this in silence. Finally, Haku spoke, voice soft but clear. You're not alone in this. The harmony allows me to sense the emotional weight you carry. Let us help shoulder it. We're bound together now. Your pain is our pain. Your choices are our choices. Don't bear this burden alone. Haku's right, Sakura added. The compulsion lets me feel your physiological stress. You're literally hurting yourself trying to protect everyone. But that's what a team is for, distributing the load. We're Sternritter now, Sasuke said firmly. You're Star Knights. If you're going to play God, then let us be your angels or demons or whatever theological metaphor fits. We'll help you choose, help you act, help you live with the consequences. And if I choose wrong, Naruto asked, if I pick a future that leads to greater suffering, then we'll fix it, Zabuza said simply. We'll adapt, overcome, survive. That's what we do. But sitting here paralyzed by fear of making mistakes, that's the only guaranteed failure. Naruto felt something loosen in his chest, a tension he'd been carrying since the Almighty awakened. They were right, he wasn't alone anymore. The shrifts bound them together, made them partners in every choice, every consequence. Okay, he said, then here's the plan, 3 weeks until the finals. We train, we prepare, and we position ourselves to influence key moments. When the invasion comes, and it will come, we protect who we can, eliminate threats efficiently, and guide the outcome toward the best possible future. Not perfect, just better than the alternative. One question, Kakashi said, visionary already plotting tactics. What about the other genin, the finalists who aren't part of our group? Do we protect them? Naruto activated the Almighty briefly, seeing branching futures for each finalist. Shikamaru survives in all timelines. He's too smart to get caught in the worst fighting. Neji and the Sand siblings are their village's priorities, but there are others. Civilians in the stands, academy students watching, infrastructure workers, thousands of potential casualties. We can't save everyone, Zabuza said pragmatically. Trying to would spread us too thin, get us all killed. No, but we can save more than if we did nothing, and every life saved is a future changed for the better. Naruto began assigning roles. Kakashi, you and your visionary coordinate our positions during the finals. See the battlefield before it exists, position us optimally. Sakura, you're on medical standby. The compulsion makes you the most effective healer we have. Sasuke, your rapid response, supremacy means you can adapt to any threat. Zabuza, Haku, you focus on the summons. Your combat abilities are best suited for large-scale threats. And you? Sakura asked. I'll handle Orochimaru, or at least delay him, keep him occupied while others secure the village. Naruto's eyes gleamed with that infinite depth. The Almighty lets me counter his techniques before he uses them. I'm the only one who can match him in tactical thinking. That's suicide, Kakashi said flatly. He's a Sannin, you're 12. I'm 12 years old carrying power that predates the Sage of Six Paths. I have access to abilities that shouldn't exist in this timeline, and I can see every move he might make before he makes it. Naruto smiled, sharp and confident. I'm not saying I'll win, but I can stall him. Give you time to save others, and if things go wrong, if I miscalculate, you'll feel it through the Shrift bond and can adapt. I don't like this plan, Sakura said. Too many variables. Too much risk. All good plans involve risk, Zabuza countered. The question is whether the potential gain justifies it. Saving the village, preventing war, positioning ourselves as heroes who protected Konoha in its darkest hour. That's worth almost any risk. They talked late into the night, refining the plan, identifying contingencies, preparing for the dozen different ways the invasion could unfold. By the time they separated, exhausted but determined, the foundation was set. 3 weeks of training remained. Then the world would see what the Sternritter could do. 2 weeks into training month, Konoha, various training locations, Sasuke stood atop the Hokage monument, facing the village, and activated his Sharingan. The supremacy had evolved his eyes beyond normal 3-tamo. He could feel them changing, adapting, reaching toward something greater. Mangekyo was still beyond him, but the foundation was forming. He'd spent 2 weeks pushing his limits, testing the Shrift's adaptation capabilities. Now he could copy techniques with perfect precision, adapt to fighting styles within minutes, and predict opponent movements 3 to 5 strikes ahead. He was becoming what Itachi had always been, an absolute prodigy. But unlike his brother, Sasuke had something Itachi lacked, a team that would never betray him, bound to his soul through unbreakable connection. Naruto, he projected through their link. The supremacy is ready, I'm ready. Whatever comes, I won't fail you. I know, Sasuke. I've seen the futures where you succeed. They're beautiful. Same time, Konoha Hospital's Sakura worked alongside Tsunade, who'd recently returned to the village at Jiraiya's request. The legendary medical nin watched with growing amazement as her young student performed techniques that should take years to master. The compulsion allowed Sakura to see bodies as systems, understand healing on a cellular level, manipulate chakra networks with impossible precision. She'd healed injuries that would have taken weeks in minutes. She'd diagnosed conditions that stumped veteran medics with a single touch. You're extraordinary, Tsunade said, studying her, but also terrifying, that level of control over biological systems. You could heal or kill with equal ease. I know, Sakura admitted. The power frightens me sometimes, but Naruto helps me understand it. Through our bond, he shares his perspective, seeing power as responsibility, not just capability. This bond you mention. It's real, not metaphorical. Very real. I can feel him right now, training across the village. Can feel Sasuke's determination, Kakashi's tactical analysis, even Zabuza and Haku's presence. We're connected on a level that transcends normal teamwork. Tsunade was quiet for a long moment, I've heard of techniques like this, soul binding, spirit connections. They're forbidden for good reason, the risk of cascading death, psychological damage, loss of individual identity. We've accepted those risks because what we're building is worth it. Sakura met the Sanin's eyes directly. Naruto sees a future where the cycle of hatred ends, where villages work together instead of destroying each other, where people like me, civilian-born, no bloodline, theoretically ordinary, can stand beside prodigies as equals. I'll risk anything for that future. Even your soul, especially my soul, because what good is survival if we just perpetuate the same broken system? Same time, Chenbu training facility Kakashi stood in the center of a sensory deprivation chamber, visionary active at maximum capacity. Around him, holographic scenarios played out, battles, assassinations, disasters, each one a possible future event he needed to predict and counter. The Shrift had merged with his Sharingan in ways even Naruto hadn't fully predicted. Now when he looked at situations, he didn't just see what was, he saw what could be. Not actual future sight like the Almighty, but advanced probability calculation, tactical precognition based on perfect understanding of variables. He saw Team 7's potential, the heights they could reach, the threats they could face, the ways they could change the world. And he saw his own role in that change, not as leader but as guardian, protecting them until they were strong enough to protect themselves. The visionary shows me 17 different invasion scenarios he projected to his team. In 12 of them, we successfully minimize casualties. In 5, we fail catastrophically. The difference is always timing, being in the right place at the right moment. Then we'll make sure we're in the right places, Naruto responded. Trust your gift, sensei, it's never been wrong yet. Same time, forest training ground Zabuza and Haku trained together, and the synergy was beautiful to witness. Zabuza's zenith had made him impossibly lethal. Every sword stroke was perfect, every technique executed at its absolute peak efficiency. He moved like death incarnate, Kubikirabacho singing through air with precision that bordered on supernatural. And Haku, with harmony, made him even better. The Shrift allowed Haku to synchronize perfectly with allies, creating coordination that shouldn't be possible. When they fought together, Haku could predict Zabuza's movements, position his ice release mirrors to complement the swordsman's strikes, create openings that Zabuza exploited instantly. They'd spent 2 weeks developing combinations that would terrify anyone who witnessed them. Mirror blade techniques that trapped and shredded opponents. Ice prisons that held enemies for Zabuza's execution. Coordinated attacks that came from impossible angles simultaneously. We're ready, Zabuza said, grinning behind his bandages. Whatever comes during the finals, it'll regret facing us. Don't be overconfident, Haku cautioned gently. Naruto's visions show threats even we might not survive. We need to be prepared for anything. I am prepared. I'm prepared to die protecting what matters. Are you? Haku smiled. I've always been prepared for that. But now, thanks to these powers, maybe we won't have to. 3 weeks into training month day before the finals, Team 7+, their expanded Sternritter group, gathered one final time in the secret training ground. They stood in a circle, souls bound, powers refined, ready for what tomorrow would bring. Naruto looked at each of them in turn. Sasuke, who'd grown from a boy seeking revenge to a warrior seeking justice. Sakura, who'd transformed from background support to vital asset. Kakashi, who'd evolved from reluctant teacher to true believer. Zabuza and Haku, who'd found purpose beyond mere survival. His family, his Sternritter. His hope for a better future. Tomorrow begins the finals, he said quietly. The invasion will come, people will die, the village will burn, and we'll stand in the center of that chaos, making impossible choices with incomplete information. Some of you might die, all of you will be changed, and there's no guarantee our intervention will actually improve anything. Inspirational speech, Zabuza muttered, really getting us pumped up. I'm not trying to inspire. I'm trying to be honest. Naruto's eyes flickered with the Almighty. I've seen hundreds of futures. In the best ones, we save thousands of lives and position Konoha for lasting peace. In the worst ones, we all die and our interference makes everything worse. The difference between those outcomes is tiny, split-second decisions, minor positioning adjustments, luck that we can't predict or control. So what are you saying? Sasuke asked. I'm saying that tomorrow we try anyway, we fight anyway, we choose the best future we can see and commit to it completely, accepting that we might be wrong. Naruto extended his hand into the center of the circle. Together. As Sternritter, as family, we face whatever comes and trust that 6 people working in perfect coordination can change the world. One by one, they placed their hands over his. Sasuke first, then Sakura, Kakashi, Zabuza, Haku, 6 people bound by soul and purpose, ready to reshape history. Naruto felt the Shrift Bond's pulse with shared determination. Through the connections, he felt their trust, their fear, their hope. They believed in him, in his vision. In the future he promised to build, he just hoped he could deliver. Kit, Kurama said softly, whatever happens tomorrow, know this. You've already changed these people's lives for the better. Even if everything goes wrong, even if the worst futures come true, you gave them purpose and connection. That matters. Thanks, Kurama, that actually helps. Don't get used to it. I'm not going soft. Of course not, you're a terrifying demon of unfathomable power. Damn right I am. Naruto smiled, squeezed his teammates' hands once, then released them. Get some rest. Tomorrow we make history. They dispersed into the night, each to their own preparations, their own thoughts, their own prayers to whatever gods might listen. And Naruto returned to his apartment, sat on his balcony, and watched the moon rise over Konoha. Tomorrow would bring violence, death, chaos. The invasion he'd seen in 1,000 different futures would finally arrive, but for tonight the village was peaceful. For tonight the people were safe. For tonight he could simply be Naruto Uzumaki, 12 years old, carrying impossible power, trying his best not to break under the weight of responsibility. He closed his eyes and activated the Almighty one final time, seeing tomorrow's branching possibilities. Thousands of futures spread before him like a tree of infinite complexity. In some, everyone died. In others, only a few. In the very best ones, the invasion was repelled with minimal casualties and Konoha emerged stronger. He chose his path through the futures, selected the decisions that led toward the best outcomes, and committed them to memory. Tomorrow, he would walk that path. Tomorrow, he would see if a boy playing God could actually save anyone. Tomorrow, the world would learn what it meant to face the Almighty. He opened his eyes and they gleamed with that infinite depth, black sclera, pupil that seemed to contain multiverses, power that looked at time itself and said, no, not that way, this way. Let them come, he whispered to the night. We're ready, and somewhere in the darkness, wearing a different face, Orochimaru smiled, because he was ready too. Chunin exam finals stadium morning, the arena was packed. Thousands of spectators filled the stands, civilians, ninja from every village, dignitaries, merchants, all gathered to witness the next generation of shinobi. The energy was electric, anticipation thick enough to taste. In the competitors' box, the 10 finalists waited. Naruto stood at the railing, eyes scanning the crowd with apparent casualness while his mind worked 3 levels deeper. The Almighty was active at low intensity, showing him branching futures, warning signs, critical moments approaching. There, he noted, 3 rows up, section 7, sound nin in disguise, and there. 20 infiltrators total, positioned near structural supports. He'd known they'd be here, seen it in 100 different futures. The question wasn't if the invasion would happen, it was how to minimize the damage when it did. Team, he projected through the Shrift Bond. Final positions. Kakashi-sensei, do you have visual on the Hokage's box? Affirmative. Hiruzen is in position. The Kazekage is beside him. I can see the disguise with my visionary. That's definitely Orochimaru. Kakashi's mental voice was tense. Say the word and I can eliminate him before the invasion even starts. No, if we kill him now, the sound forces scatter unpredictably. Better to let him initiate than counter systematically. We need controlled chaos, not random violence. That's a hell of a risk. All good plans are. Naruto glanced at his teammates. Sasuke stood ready, sharing and hidden, but prepared to activate instantly. Sakura was positioned near the medical station, perfect placement for when casualties started. Zabuza and Haku were scattered in the crowd, appearing as regular spectators, but ready to engage the moment things went wrong. Everything was positioned exactly as he'd seen in the optimal futures. Now came the hard part. Maintaining that optimal path through 1,000 possible deviations. First match, the proctor announced. Naruto Uzumaki versus Neji Hyuga. Naruto descended to the arena floor, feeling the weight of thousands of eyes. Neji stood opposite, Byakugan already active, seeing the chakra flow through Naruto's system, or trying to. What he actually saw made him frown. Your chakra is wrong, Neji said, settling into gentle fist stance. It flows in patterns that shouldn't exist, 2 separate systems running simultaneously. What are you? Complicated, Naruto replied. but also simple. I'm someone who refuses to accept fate as immutable, which makes this match thematically appropriate. You believe in destiny, in unchangeable paths written at birth. I believe in choice, in writing my own future. Pretty philosophy. It won't save you from the Hyuga's absolute defense. We'll see. The proctor raised his hand. Begin. Neji moved first, rushing forward with gentle fist strikes aimed at Naruto's Tenketsu points. Fast, precise, backed by Byakugan's sight that saw every chakra point in the body. Naruto activated the Almighty for a fraction of a second. The world split into futures. He saw Neji's strike pattern, saw 8 different variations, saw which would actually manifest, saw the optimal counter. Selected the future where he dodged cleanly and stepped into it. Neji's palm passed through empty air where Naruto had been a microsecond before. The Hyuga spun, adapting, launching a second strike. Naruto was already gone, appearing 5 feet away. Your gentle fist is impressive. But I can see every strike before you make it. Impossible. The Byakugan sees all. No one can predict Hyuga techniques. I don't predict, I see. Naruto's eyes flickered with that infinite depth. Every possible attack you might make, spreading out like branches, I simply choose which timeline to occupy. He proved it over the next 3 minutes. Neji attacked with increasing desperation, every technique in the Hyuga arsenal, each one countered before it landed. The 8 trigrams techniques, the rotation defense, even the advanced moves that shouldn't be known to branch family, all useless against someone who could see them coming before they were committed to reality. Finally, exhausted and frustrated, Neji stood panting in the center of the arena. How? The Byakugan is absolute, I see everything, but you move like you're writing the future itself. Because I am, Naruto said softly, approaching. You believe fate is fixed, but I've learned something, Neji. The future is liquid. It flows, branches, changes based on choice. Your fate as branch family, my fate as Jinchuriki, they're only written in stone if we accept them as such. He placed a hand on Neji's shoulder, a gesture of respect between equals. You're strong, incredibly strong, but strength without the belief you can change things is just elaborate surrender. Break your cage, Neji, write your own future, the proctor called it. Winner. Naruto Uzumaki, the crowd erupted in cheers. Naruto returned to the competitor's box where Sasuke was grinning. Show off, his teammate muttered through their link. Says the Uchiha who can't wait to demonstrate his new abilities. Fair point. More matches followed. Sasuke fought and dominated a sound nin with such ease that it bordered on cruel. The supremacy let him adapt to every technique within seconds, making his opponent's strategies obsolete before they could land. Shikamaru won through clever tactics. Gaara's match ended quickly when his opponent forfeited rather than face the sand. And through it all, Naruto felt the invasion approaching like a storm on the horizon. Every future he glimpsed showed the same critical moment coming, when the genjutsu would drop, when the barrier would form, when Orochimaru would reveal himself. 60 seconds he projected to his team. Get ready. The final preliminary match concluded. The crowd was celebrating, enjoying the spectacle, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Then the world went white. The invasion begins. The genjutsu slammed down like a hammer, Temple of Nirvana technique, advanced sleep jutsu that dropped 90% of the civilians instantly. They slumped in their seats, unconscious, vulnerable, but the Sternritter had been ready. Their soul bonds let them share resistance. Naruto's immunity became theirs through the connection. They remained standing while around them, chaos erupted. Sound and sand ninja revealed themselves, dropping disguises, pulling weapons. Summoning jutsu activated across the village, massive snakes materialized, crushing buildings, spreading terror. The invasion had begun exactly as Naruto had foreseen. Positions, he commanded. Kakashi, secure the civilian evacuation routes. Sakura, medical station now, casualties incoming. Sasuke, deal with the summons in sectors 3 and 4. Zabuza, Haku, north wall breach. Move, they scattered with perfect coordination. Years of training, weeks of preparation, hours of planning coming together in seconds. Naruto turned his attention to the Hokage's box, where the real battle was beginning. A barrier materialized around Hiruzen and the Kazekage, 4 sound nin channeling advanced sealing technique, creating an impenetrable boundary. Inside, Orochimaru shed his disguise, revealing his true form, that snake-like smile spreading across his features. Sensei, he said mockingly, shall we continue where we left off? Naruto moved. Kyaku propelled him across the arena at impossible speed, appearing at the barrier's edge. His hand pressed against the purple energy wall, feeling its structure with spiritual senses. This barrier, he analyzed. 4-point anchor, each maintained by a Jonin-level ninja, designed to be unbreakable from outside, but that assumes normal methods. He activated the Almighty, seeing the barrier across multiple timelines. Seeing its weaknesses, the points where it was thin, the frequencies where rise he could penetrate. Kakashi, I need your visionary. Look at the barrier's eastern anchor point. See the weakness. Through their bond, he felt Kakashi's perception merge with his own, two different forms of future sight overlapping, creating unprecedented analytical capability. I see it. But exploiting that weakness requires striking at exactly the right moment with exactly the right frequency of chakra. Off by even a fraction and the barrier will adapt, strengthen. Then we don't miss. Sasuke, I'm feeding you the data through the shrift. Your supremacy should let you execute the strike perfectly. He felt Sasuke's acknowledgement, felt the Uchiha rushing to position through shared awareness. The soul bonds made them move as one mind in 6 bodies, unprecedented coordination that made normal teamwork look clumsy by comparison. Inside the barrier, Orochimaru had summoned the first 2 coffins. Edo Tensei, the technique that brought back the dead as immortal warriors. The first and second Hokage began to rise, chakra signatures massive, terrifying. Hiruzen looked old suddenly, tired, facing his predecessor and brother with resignation. And Naruto faced his choice. The moment he'd been dreading since the Almighty awakened. The decision that would define everything that came after. He could save Hiruzen. The Almighty showed him the path, breaking the barrier at the perfect moment, countering Orochimaru's techniques before they landed, ensuring the third survived this confrontation. That future was achievable, difficult but possible. He could also let Hiruzen die. Let the old man make his heroic sacrifice, inspire the village, create the power vacuum that would eventually lead to Tsunade's return, then his own rise. That future led to longer-term stability, faster social change, the reforms Kano had desperately needed. Both futures had merit, both had costs. Kit, Kurama warned, choose quickly. Every second you delay makes the decision harder. I know, I wanted to save everyone. That was the plan. Save everyone, prevent all death, be the hero who changed everything without sacrifice. That was never realistic. You know that? Power doesn't eliminate hard choices, it just makes you responsible for making them. Naruto watched Hiruzen fight, watched the old man who'd been kind to him struggle against impossible odds. Watched and calculated and felt his heart break even as his mind worked through the cold logic of optimal futures. Then he saw something that made his decision for him. A third coffin beginning to rise. The fourth Hokage, his father, though Naruto didn't know that connection yet. The coffin was stopped, couldn't fully manifest, but Orochimaru's attempt revealed something. He was trying to summon multiple Hokage, not just 2. The technique was being pushed to its limits. And in the futures where Naruto intervened now, Orochimaru escaped, survived to plague them later. To experiment more, grow stronger, return as a greater threat. But in the futures where the battle played out, Orochimaru still escaped but weakened, wounded, forced to retreat for years while he recovered, giving them time to prepare, to grow, to position themselves. The cold calculation made the decision clear. The human heart rebelled against it. I'm sorry, Naruto thought, though he didn't know if he was apologizing to Hiruzen, to himself, or to the universe for the choice he was making. I'm so sorry, he stepped back from the barrier. Team, new orders, focus on civilian evacuation and summon elimination. The barrier stays intact. We let this fight conclude naturally. What? Sakura's mental voice carried shock and horror. Naruto, the Hokage will die, I know. Then why? Because in the futures where I save him, we lose more people overall. The village stagnates, wars continue, the cycle persists. In the future where he dies heroically, we get Tsunade as 5th, get the reforms we need, get the momentum for real change. It's the better path. That's playing God, Kakashi protested. Choosing who lives and dies based on predicted outcomes. Yes, that's exactly what it is, and I hate it. But it's also the only way to actually save everyone long-term instead of just delaying their deaths. The shrift bonds carried his anguish, his certainty, his absolute commitment to the choice even as it tore at him. His team felt it all, the cold logic and the breaking heart, the strategic necessity and the human cost. Trust me, he projected, and his mental voice carried pleading. Please, trust that I'm making the right choice even though it's the hardest one. Silence on the bond. Then one by one, acknowledgement. They trusted him. Hated the choice but accepted it. Because they'd bound their souls to his, and that meant accepting all of him, the strategist and the human, the king and the boy. Naruto turned away from the barrier and focused on what he could control. Coordinating evacuation, eliminating sound forces, protecting civilians. Being the hero where he could be, accepting the villain's role where he had to be. Inside the barrier, Hiruzen fought with everything he had. The first and second Hokage, reanimated and controlled, attacked with legendary technique. Orochimaru supplemented with his own jutsu, snakes and summons and forbidden techniques. The old man fought brilliantly, desperately. Knowing he was going to die but refusing to go quietly. He managed to seal the first and second, ending the Edo Tensei on those summons. But the cost was immense, his chakra depleted, his body failing, death already claiming him. His final act was to attempt sealing Orochimaru. The Reaper Death Seal, a technique that took the user's life to seal the target. His arms reached for Orochimaru's soul, pulling, trying to drag the Sannin to hell with him. He succeeded partially. Orochimaru's arms were sealed, rendered useless, payment for his arrogance. The Sannin screamed in agony, losing his ability to perform hand seals, losing access to most of his jutsu library. Then Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage professor, god of shinobi, fell. The barrier collapsed. Orochimaru fled, clutching his useless arms, retreating with sound forces. The invasion was falling apart, coordination lost with their leader crippled. Now Naruto commanded, eliminate the remaining threats, efficiently, ruthlessly, make them regret attacking, the Sternritter struck. The counterattack Kakashi's visionary had already mapped every enemy position, every tactical weakness, every optimal strike point. He directed the defense with supernatural precision, positioning Konoha forces exactly where they needed to be, turning chaos into coordinated annihilation. Sasuke's supremacy made him devastating against the summons. Each snake, each giant creature, taught him how to counter them more effectively. By his third engagement, he was destroying summons in seconds that should have taken teams of Jonin minutes. Sakura's compulsion let her save lives that would have been lost. Injuries that normally killed within minutes were stabilized with a touch, cellular systems commanded to hold together until proper healing could occur. She worked with efficiency that bordered on supernatural, one hand healing while the other wrote mental notes for later application. Zabuza and Haku were like death incarnate at the North Wall breach. The zenith made Zabuza's blade work perfect, every swing claimed lives, every technique executed flawlessly. Haku's harmony synchronized them so completely they moved as one being with two bodies, ice and blade combining into an unstoppable killing art. And Naruto coordinated it all, the Almighty showing him where to position his pieces, when to strike, how to minimize casualties while maximizing enemy elimination. His mind existed in multiple timelines simultaneously, choosing the best path through chaos, writing reality itself. Within 2 hours, the invasion was over. Sound forces were rooted or dead. Sand forces surrendered when Gaara, seeing Naruto's protection of civilians, ordered his siblings to stand down. The village was damaged but standing. Casualties were heavy but far less than they could have been. And in the center of it all, Hiruzen Sarutobi lay in state, surrounded by the ninja he'd led, the village he'd protected, the legacy he'd left behind. Naruto stood before the body, and for the first time since making his choice, allowed himself to feel the full weight of it. This man had been kind to him, had protected him, had seen him as human when few others did, and Naruto had chosen to let him die. Was it worth it, he asked himself. Was the strategic gain worth this loss? The Almighty showed him futures branching from this moment. In most of them, yes. Konoha emerged stronger from unified grief. Tsunade returned as fifth Hokage, reforms began. The cycle of hatred showed its first real cracks. But in a few futures, guilt consumed him. The weight of choosing to let someone die, even for good reasons, broke him. Made him into the monster everyone feared, the calculating strategist with no humanity left. Don't let that be me, he prayed to whatever forces had given him this power. Let me carry this guilt without being destroyed by it. Let me be strong enough to bear the weight of playing God. Sakura's hand touched his shoulder, physical and spiritual support through their bond. It's not your fault, you didn't kill him, you just chose not to prevent it. That's the same thing. Is it? If you saw 1,000 people about to die and could only save 900, would you be responsible for the 100 who died? Or credited for the 900 you saved? Her voice was gentle but firm. You made an impossible choice in impossible circumstances. Don't let it break you. What if I deserve to be broken? then you'd be useless to everyone depending on you. Sasuke's voice came from behind them, sharp but not unkind. The supremacy teaches me that adaptation requires accepting costs. Sometimes you lose to position yourself for greater victory. The Hokage understood that he chose to sacrifice himself to seal Orochimaru's arms. You chose to let that sacrifice mean something instead of negating it. Zabuza's been teaching me about the economics of war, Haku added softly. Acceptable losses, strategic sacrifices, trolley problems. You saved thousands by letting one die. That's the math of survival. Math shouldn't apply to human lives, Naruto said, but his voice carried less certainty. Maybe not. But when you're responsible for protecting people, sometimes cold math is all you have. Kakashi's hand joined Sakura's on his shoulder. I've made similar choices, Naruto. Let teammates die to save missions. Sacrificed individuals for groups. It never gets easier. But it's also the price of leadership, bearing the weight of decisions others can't or won't make. They stood together, 6 people bound by soul and purpose, supporting their linchpin as he processed the cost of his choices. The village mourned around them, but they existed in their own space, their own moment of shared understanding. Thank you, Naruto projected through their bonds, all of you, for understanding, for not hating me for what I chose. We're Sternritter. Zabuza's mental voice was gruff but sincere. We share the burden. Your choices are our choices. Your guilt is our guilt. That's what binding souls means. Naruto straightened, wiped his eyes, and turned to face his team properly. Then let's make it mean something. Let's ensure his death leads to the better future I saw. Let's build the world he'd have wanted but couldn't achieve. Agreed, they said in unison, verbal and mental voices overlapping. 3 days later, Hiruzen's funeral, the entire village gathered to honor their fallen Hokage. Thousands stood in silence as his body was committed to the earth, joining the previous Hokage in the monument to Konoha's greatest. Naruto stood with his team, watching, remembering, carrying the knowledge that he could have prevented this. That his choice, however justified strategically, had led directly to this moment. The guilt was crushing. But he bore it because that was his role now. The person who made hard choices so others didn't have to. The king who carried the weight so his people could stand tall. Tsunade stood at the front, recently returned, recently convinced to accept the 5th Hokage position. She looked older than her years despite her youth technique, burdened by loss and responsibility in equal measure. But she was strong, would be a good Hokage, would implement the changes Konoha needed. Worth it, Naruto told himself. It has to be worth it. After the ceremony, as people dispersed, Tsunade approached Team 7. Her eyes were sharp, analytical, seeing through their composed facades to the truth beneath. You knew, she said flatly. Somehow you knew the invasion was coming, knew it would happen this way. And you chose not to prevent it entirely. Naruto met her gaze without flinching. Yes. Why? Because prevention would have required revealing capabilities I'm not ready to reveal. Because the invasion failing completely would have left Sound and Sand convinced they'd just executed poorly, leading to future attempts. And because, he hesitated, then committed to honesty, because the futures where we stopped it entirely led to worse outcomes long-term. You're saying my sensei died for the greater good, her voice was dangerous. I'm saying he died heroically, sealing Orochimaru's arms, inspiring the village, and creating the conditions for you to lead us toward lasting peace. His sacrifice meant something. I ensured it meant something by not negating it through intervention. Tsunade stared at him for a long moment, and Naruto could see her struggling, rage at his calculation, understanding of his logic, horror at his willingness to make such choices. Finally, she spoke. You're 12 years old, you shouldn't be making decisions like that. No one should have to carry that weight. I know, but I have the power to see futures, which means I have the responsibility to choose between them. I chose the least painful path. I'll live with the consequences. Will you, or will you break under the guilt? Ask me in a year. Naruto's smile was sharp and sad. If I'm still human by then, I'll tell you whether it was worth it. Tsunade looked at him, really looked, and saw something that terrified and impressed her in equal measure. A child with power that shouldn't exist, wisdom that came from nowhere, and the willingness to destroy himself for what he believed was right. The Sternritter, she said, recognizing the term from reports. That's what your group calls itself. Star Knights, bound souls serving a greater purpose. You're building something, Naruto Uzumaki, something that could save the world or destroy it depending on who's guiding it. That's why I need advisors, teachers. People who will challenge my choices instead of just following orders. He met her eyes directly. Be that person, Hokage-sama, keep me human, stop me if I go too far. That's what I need from you, and if I can't stop you, then at least you'll know you tried. She laughed, bitter, surprised, almost impressed. You're terrifying, kid, absolutely terrifying, but also necessary maybe. The world needs people willing to make hard choices. Just try not to lose yourself in the process. That's the plan. Tsunade left, shoulders set with determination, already planning her administration, the reforms she'd implement, the future she'd build. And Naruto watched her go, feeling the weight of his choice settling into permanence. He'd played God, let someone die who he could have saved, chosen a future that required sacrifice, but he'd also saved thousands. Positioned Konoha for lasting change, started the process of breaking the cycle of hatred. Whether that was worth the cost, time would tell. You did good, Kit, Kurama said softly. Hard choices, terrible choices, but good ones. How do you know? Because you're asking whether they were good. The moment you stop questioning, stop feeling guilty, stop agonizing, that's when you become the monster. As long as you carry the weight, you're still human, then I'll carry it. Forever if I have to. That's my Jinchuriki, stubborn to the end. Naruto smiled, gathered his team with a glance, and they left the memorial together. 6 people bound by soul and purpose, carrying the weight of impossible choices, building toward a future only one of them could see. The invasion was over. Konoha had survived. The cycle was beginning to crack. And Naruto Uzumaki, 12 years old and already playing God, prepared for the next stage of his impossible plan. The world was changing. And he was the one changing it. 2 weeks after Hiruzen's funeral, Konoha Memorial Stone, Naruto sat before the memorial, reading names carved in black stone. So many dead. Heroes, failures, victims of circumstance, all reduced to letters on rock, remembered in aggregate but forgotten as individuals. He traced one name with his finger, Obito Uchiha. A boy who'd died saving his teammate, who'd given Kakashi the Sharingan that now bore a shrift. How many ripples from that one death? How many futures changed by a single moment of sacrifice? Would I have let Obito die too? He wondered, if I'd seen futures where his death led to greater good, would I have chosen not to save him? The question haunted him, because he suspected the answer was yes. Brooding again, Naruto didn't turn. He'd felt her approach minutes ago, the familiar chakra signature and confident stride. Tenten settled beside him on the grass, close enough to be companionable but far enough to respect his space. Thinking, he corrected, about cause and effect, about how many small choices lead to large consequences. Like letting the Hokage die, he flinched. The question was blunt, direct, without judgment but also without comfort. Very much Tenten style, she never let him hide from difficult truths. You know about that? I guessed. You had that look during the invasion, like someone watching a play they'd already seen, knowing how it ended. She picked at the grass between them. You could have saved him, couldn't you? But you chose not to. Yes, because you saw something better coming from his death. Yes. She was quiet for a moment, processing. Then that's horrifying and also probably necessary. I hate that you had to make that choice, but I understand why you made it. Naruto looked at her, really looked. Tenten sat with perfect poise, weapons scroll across her back, hair in those distinctive twin buns that had become associated with surgical precision in weapons work. But her eyes held something new, understanding tinged with sadness. She saw him clearly, the boy playing God, the king making impossible choices, and didn't flinch away. Aren't you afraid of me? He asked quietly. Everyone else is. My own team struggles with what I've become sometimes. But you, I'm terrified of you, she said simply. You're becoming something unprecedented. Someone who rewrites fate, who sees futures others can't, who makes choices that determine who lives and dies. That's the most frightening thing I can imagine. Then why are you here? Because I'm also fascinated by you. Attracted to your mind, your determination, your willingness to bear impossible weights. Because terror and attraction aren't mutually exclusive. She turned to face him fully. And because someone needs to keep you grounded, someone who isn't bound to your soul, who can challenge you without the connection influencing their judgment. That sounds lonely. Everything about you sounds lonely. That's part of why I'm here. She smiled, warm, genuine, tinged with sadness. You need someone who chooses to stand beside you instead of being compelled by soul bonds, someone who can walk away if necessary but chooses not to. Consider me your anchor to normal humanity. I'm not sure I deserve that, probably not, but you need it anyway. She reached out, took his hand. Her fingers were calloused from weapons work, strong from years of training, warm with life and choice. We all need someone who sees our worst aspects and stays anyway. For you, that's me. For me, well, that's you too. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching clouds drift across the memorial. Around them, Konoha rebuilt, new construction replacing invasion damage, new policies under Tsunade's administration, new hope emerging from tragedy. "There's something else," Tenten said eventually. "Something I wanted to talk to you about. My team, we've been discussing requesting reassignment." "Why?" Naruto's attention sharpened. "Because we're falling behind. Lee's taijutsu is incredible, but it has limits. Neiji's Byakugan is powerful, but he's struggling with his worldview after your match. And she hesitated, "I'm good, really good, but good isn't enough anymore, not for what's coming." "What's coming?" "Wars. Real wars, not just invasions. Akatsuki activity is increasing." Tsunade briefed the Jonin, Gai-sensei shared some details. "Organizations that collect Jinchuriki that hunt people like you. If I want to stand beside you when those threats arrive, I need to be stronger than good with weapons." Understanding dawned. "You want a shrift?" "I want the option, not demanding, not expecting, just asking if it's possible. If you think I'd be suitable, if the benefits outweigh the risks." Naruto activated the Almighty briefly, seeing futures where she joined the Sternritter. The visions were promising. Tenten with enhanced abilities, coordinating with the others, becoming something greater than she'd ever imagined possible. But also binding her to his fate permanently, making her survival dependent on his. Putting her at risk from enemies who would target the Sternritter specifically. "It's dangerous," he said, "more dangerous than you realize. The soul bond means if too many of us die, I die, and if I die, I probably die too. I understand the risks." Her voice was steady, certain. "But I also understand the alternative, staying weak while the world burns around us, watching from the sidelines while people I care about face threats I can't help with. That's not acceptable. What does your team think?" "They support my choice. Lee, he believes in the power of youth and hard work above all else, but he also recognizes exceptional circumstances require exceptional responses. Neji thinks the risks are too high, but admits that his Byakugan shows something different about your chakra, something that makes the soul bonds more stable than they should be. And Gai-sensei doesn't know. Won't know unless I accept. Some secrets are too dangerous to share before commitment." She squeezed his hand. "So, what letter would fit me, hypothetically?" Naruto closed his eyes, feeling that ancient knowledge well up from wherever it came from. Letters, powers, abilities that matched souls perfectly. "For Tenten, the Tempest," he said softly. "Mastery over motion, trajectory, and kinetic energy. You become the perfect weapons specialist, able to control the path of anything thrown, shot, or launched. Enhanced to supernatural levels, yes, but also expanded. Arrows that curve mid-flight, shuriken that return when called, weapons that strike from impossible angles." "That sounds," she breathed, "that sounds amazing. Like everything I've ever wanted my weapons work to become. But also binding you to me permanently, making you a target for anyone who figures out what we are. Risking your life on my survival." His voice was heavy with responsibility. "I won't make this choice for you, I can't. It has to be completely voluntary." "Then I volunteer. Completely, freely, understanding all risks." She stood, extending her hand to help him up. "When?" "Now, if you're certain. The binding ritual works best when there's genuine emotional connection, trust, affection, shared purpose. We have all three." They walked to his apartment together, hand in hand, talking quietly about the implications, the changes she could expect, the role she'd play in his expanding plans. By the time they reached his door, the decision was finalized. Naruto performed the ritual in his living room, palm pressed to her forehead, Rise flowing through careful channels. Tenten gasped as the power flooded into her, foreign energy finding its place, creating new pathways, enhancing existing abilities to supernatural levels. When it was finished, she stood transformed. Not visibly different, but fundamentally enhanced. She picked up a kunai from his table, threw it at the wall, and watched as it curved mid-flight, striking exactly where she'd intended despite the impossible trajectory. "Incredible," she whispered. "I can feel every weapon in the room, feel the potential paths they could take. It's like the world is full of possibilities I never saw before." "Welcome to the Sternritter," Naruto said, pulling her into an embrace. "Your family now, soul-bound, permanently connected, sharing our fate." "Good." She kissed him, sudden, spontaneous, filled with joy and fear and determination. "I choose your fate, all of it. Whatever comes." He kissed her back, and for a moment, he wasn't the boy playing God or the king making impossible choices. He was just Naruto, 13 years old, holding someone who chose to stand beside him despite knowing exactly what that meant. The next day, Training Ground 7 Team 7 plus Tenten worked through coordination exercises, integrating her new abilities into their group dynamic. The Tempest made her devastatingly effective, weapons striking from angles that shouldn't exist, perfect accuracy at any range, kinetic energy enhanced beyond normal limits. But more importantly, the soul bond connected her to their network. 7 people now, sharing awareness, coordinating with supernatural precision. "This is insane," Sasuke muttered, dodging a kunai that curved around 3 trees to tag him anyway. "She's already mastering advanced applications." "The shrifts adapt to the user's existing abilities," Naruto explained, watching Tenten practice with throwing stars that moved like guided missiles. She was already exceptional with weapons. The Tempest just makes her perfect. "Speaking of perfect," Kakashi said, visionary showing him tactical applications, "we need to discuss operational security. 7 Sternritter is enough to attract attention if we're not careful. People will notice coordinated abilities, shared awareness, performance beyond normal human limits." "Agreed. We need cover stories, training explanations, reasons for our capabilities that don't involve soul bonds and ancient power systems." Naruto's analytical mind was already working. Tenten's improvement can be attributed to special weapons training. Sasuke's adaptation is sharing an evolution. Sakura's medical abilities are advanced chakra control. Standard explanations for non-standard results. "What about you?" Haku asked. "Your abilities are the most obviously inhuman." "I blame the Ninetales. Everyone expects Jinchuriki to be strange. As long as I don't reveal the Almighty directly, people will assume it's all related to my demon." They spent the morning refining these cover stories, practicing normal explanations for extraordinary abilities. By afternoon, they moved like a standard elite team, exceptional but explainable. That's when the Sound 4 arrived. Training Ground 7 afternoon, the temptation they emerged from the forest like nightmares made flesh, 4 figures in dark clothing, each radiating malevolence and power. Orochimaru's elite guards, his personal retrieval squad, sent to collect valuable assets. "Sasuke Uchiha," the leader Sakone called out mockingly, "Our lord has an offer for you, power beyond your current limits. The strength to kill Itachi, freedom from Konoha's restrictions." The Sternritter formed a defensive circle instantly, hands moving to weapons, but Naruto raised his hand. "Wait, let them talk." Information was valuable, and these 4 might reveal important intelligence. "Orochimaru sent you," Sasuke said, voice cold. "The same Orochimaru who just lost his arms fighting the 3rd Hokage. The same one who fled like a coward when his invasion failed. Why would I want power from someone that weak?" Sakone's eyes narrowed. "Lord Orochimaru is temporarily inconvenienced. But his knowledge remains vast, his techniques unparalleled. He offers you the curse mark power that will make you stronger than any Uchiha before you." "I don't need his mark." Sasuke's Sharingan activated, 3 Tamo spinning. "I have power, real power, power that doesn't come from snakes and forbidden techniques." "Do you?" Taiyuya stepped forward, grinning viciously. "Because from where I stand, you're still a pathetic brat playing ninja in a pathetic village that couldn't even protect its own Hokage." The insult hit its mark. Sasuke's anger flared, and with it the supremacy responded. His chakra spiked, his Sharingan spun faster, and for a moment the air around him shimmered with potential violence. "Sasuke," Naruto projected quickly. "Don't let them provoke you. They're trying to trigger your anger, make you act impulsively. Stay calm. They're insulting the village, insulting the Hokage's sacrifice. They're trying to manipulate you, don't give them what they want." But something else was happening. Through the Shrift Bond, Naruto felt Sasuke's internal struggle, not just anger at the insults but deeper frustration. Despite all his growth, despite the supremacy, Itachi remained beyond him. The revenge he craved still felt impossible. And that doubt, that frustration, was exactly what the Sound 4 were designed to exploit. "You feel it, don't you?" Kidomaru's voice was silky, persuasive. "The limits of your current power. You've grown strong, yes, but not strong enough. Not for what you really want. We're offering you the key to transcending those limits." "The curse mark isn't just power," Jirobo added. "It's transformation. Evolution beyond human limitation. Exactly what someone like you needs." Sasuke wavered. Naruto felt it through their bond, the temptation, the hunger for greater strength, the willingness to consider any option that might close the gap with Itachi. "Don't," Naruto projected urgently. "The curse mark is corruption. It doesn't grant power, it borrows it at a cost. You'll lose yourself, become someone else, and still not be strong enough to face Itachi as an equal." "Then how?" Sasuke's mental voice carried desperation. How do I become strong enough? The supremacy is incredible, but it's not enough. I can feel it. Even with this power, Itachi is still beyond me. So how? The question hung between them, transmitted through their soul bond, felt by all the Sternritter. How does someone transcend their current limits? How does power grow beyond its apparent ceiling? Naruto activated the Almighty for just a moment, seeing futures where Sasuke accepted the curse mark. In all of them, tragedy followed. Sasuke lost himself, became Orochimaru's puppet, eventually freed himself but at terrible cost. The Sound Four's offer led nowhere good, but he also saw what Sasuke needed to hear, the truth about power, about growth, about the path forward. You want to know how to become stronger? Naruto asked aloud, addressing both Sasuke and the Sound Four. Real strength doesn't come from external sources, not from curse marks or demon power or forbidden techniques. It comes from understanding yourself completely, accepting every aspect of who you are, and choosing to grow beyond what you thought possible. Pretty words, Sakura mocked. But can they kill Itachi Uchiha? Eventually, yes. Naruto's voice carried absolute certainty. Because Sasuke isn't trying to become strong enough to kill his brother, he's trying to become strong enough to save him. And that requires a completely different kind of power. Silence. The Sound Four looked confused, Sasuke looked stunned. Save him, Sasuke whispered. The Almighty shows me many things. Including the truth about your brother, about why he did what he did, about what he's really trying to accomplish. Naruto met Sasuke's eyes directly. Itachi isn't your enemy, Sasuke. He's a tool being used by people who feared your clan. When you're strong enough, when we're all strong enough, we'll find him. Learn the truth, and then decide whether he needs to die or needs to be freed. You're lying, but Sasuke's voice lacked conviction. I'm offering hope, a different path than vengeance, a way forward that doesn't require selling your soul to snakes. Naruto gestured at the Sound Four dismissively. These four offer corruption disguised as strength. I offer actual strength earned through growth. Choose. Sasuke looked at the Sound Four, then at his team, his family, bound by soul and choice. Saw Naruto's certainty, felt the shared bonds of the other Sternritter, remembered everything they'd accomplished together. Made his choice. No, he said to Sakura. I don't need your master's power. I have something better. I have people who believe in me, who support my growth, who share their strength freely instead of selling it for souls. Find someone else to corrupt. The Sound Four exchanged glances. This wasn't how these recruitments usually went. Most people jumped at the chance for easy power, especially revenge-driven Uchiha. You're making a mistake, Taiyuya snarled. This offer won't come again. Good, Tenten said cheerfully, kunai spinning around her fingers in impossible patterns, because your presence is making us all uncomfortable. Leave. Now. While you still can. Is that a threat? Kidomaru asked, 6 arms revealing hidden weapons. It's a fact. All 7 Sternritter stepped forward simultaneously, perfect coordination, shared killing intent, power that radiated from their soul bonds like heat from forge fire. You're outnumbered, outclassed, and unwelcome. Retreat or be eliminated. The Sound Four were dangerous. Elite Jonin level, curse mark enhanced, trained by one of the Sannin. Under normal circumstances, they'd be confident facing Genin, even talented ones. But these weren't normal Genin. And the soul bonds made them something unprecedented. 7 individuals moving as one mind, sharing abilities, coordinating with impossible precision. Sakura calculated odds, assessed threats, and reached the correct conclusion: they were outmatched. This isn't over, he said, signaling his team to retreat. Sasuke Uchiha will come to Lord Orochimaru eventually. Everyone seeks power when pushed hard enough. Maybe, Naruto agreed, but not today, and by the time he's pushed that hard, he'll be strong enough that your master's power will seem pathetic by comparison. The Sound Four retreated into the forest, vanishing like the nightmares they resembled. Leaving the Sternritter alone in the training ground, processing what had just happened. Thank you, Sasuke said quietly, for stopping me from making a terrible mistake, for offering me hope instead of just power, for telling me about Itachi. Is it true, Sakura asked, about Itachi not being the villain? It's complicated, very complicated, but yes, the massacre wasn't what it appeared to be. When we're strong enough, when we have enough political influence, we'll uncover the real truth, and then we'll decide what justice actually looks like. How long? Sasuke asked. How long until we're strong enough? Naruto activated the Almighty, seeing timelines stretching into the future. Seeing growth, development, the slow accumulation of power and influence that would eventually let them challenge the system that had destroyed the Uchiha. 5 years, he said finally. Maybe less if we push hard, maybe more if we face setbacks. But eventually, yes, we'll be strong enough to change everything. Then we train, we grow. We become worthy of the truth. Sasuke's determination was absolute, shared through their bonds. No shortcuts, no easy power, just honest growth until we're ready. Together, Tenten added, hand finding Naruto's, all of us. Whatever comes, together, the others agreed. They stood in the fading afternoon light, 7 people bound by choice and power, committed to a future only one of them could see. The Sound Four's temptation had been rejected. The curse mark's corruption had been avoided, and the path forward was clear, long, difficult, but honest. In 5 years, they'd be ready to challenge the system that had created Itachi's tragedy. In 5 years, they'd have the power to rewrite the rules entirely. In 5 years, the world would learn what the Sternritter had truly become. But today, they were just 7 young people training together, growing together, supporting each other through the difficulties of becoming more than human while trying to stay humane. It was enough, it was perfect. It was the foundation of everything that would come after. Well done, Kit, Kurama observed. You gave him hope instead of power, truth instead of easy answers. That's the difference between corruption and genuine growth. I almost lost him. If the Sound Four had been more persuasive, if they'd offered exactly the right combination of power and revenge, but they didn't, and you were ready with better options. That's what leadership means, having alternatives available when people face temptation. There will be other temptations, other tests. The path I'm building, it's long and difficult. People will be offered easier ways, and you'll be there with better options. With truth instead of lies, growth instead of shortcuts, family instead of exploitation. The fox's voice held something approaching pride. You're becoming what this world needs, Kit, a king worth following. Naruto smiled, gathered his team with a glance, and they headed home together. 7 Sternritter walking through Konoha as the sun set, planning training schedules and tactical improvements and the steady accumulation of power that would eventually reshape the world. The future was bright, the future was theirs to write, and they would write it together.